Adam Pavel was no longer human. Not after what the Adumbry terrorist had done to him. "I'm sorry." Fresh blood was on his shriveled hands and arms, slowly drying, forming a sticky coat over his pockmarked skin. Blood dripped from the sides of his permanent impish grin that stretched from one pointy ear to the next. Between his uneven serrated teeth, stringy bits of flesh were stuck. He was disgusted to think that the metallic taste of blood and the soft texture of flesh felt right as he chewed. "I'm truly sorry, I can't stop myself." His claws stabbed the folds of flesh of the meaty stomach of their prey. His ears twitched at the infuriating screams. The prey was yelling for help while trying to fight them off, but the others held him down, chomping on his arms and legs, devouring everything they could. Adam had to move fast or else there would be nothing left for him. He furiously shoved the others away, their snarling heads, clawed hands, tentacles, and barbed appendages. He grabbed as much flesh as he could, putting it into his gaping mouth before the others could eat the best parts. "Forgive me, this isn't me, my body is no longer my own." The helpless resident of the building he used to guard was no longer screaming. Dead. Yet, he and the others continued their feeding frenzy. His claws snagged some tendon, he pulled it out with an annoyed growl. He crushed their prey's brittle bones and sucked out the juicy marrow they contained. Inside his head, Adam the human begged the entity that had full control of his body it wouldn't look at the face of the person he was eating. It didn't listen to his pleas, but it, or rather I, as it was me and I was just a tiny piece of consciousness left at the corner of my mind, was too focused on eating that he stuck his head into the writhing mass of mutations to gnaw the leftover flesh off the bones that he still ended up not seeing this person's face. "Please forgive me. Please save me." After a short while, the body was bones. And most of the bones were also eaten. The meal done, most of them calmed down and walked away. Adam mumbled words made incoherent by his monster vocals cords. He didn't know what he was saying, he didn't know what the entity was thinking. He continued shambling through the hallway while grumbling gibberish, his long arms brushing against his outwardly bowed knees. The tail made of bones that was his spine extending out of his body lazily swished behind him. He didn't know which part of the building he was at. He didn't know how many people he had eaten. Each time he found a human, a ravenous need to kill and consume filled his head. That sensation, the insatiable hunger, he feared feeling it. And if he feared the all-consuming hunger, he absolutely dreaded the cry the call others made when they found food. His mind blanked out after hearing those calls. And the next thing he knew, when he was able to regather what little remained of his scattered consciousness, he would already be eating someone. "But I haven't killed anyone." He had convinced himself of that. Even if he was turned into a monster and had memories of eating humans, he was never the one who dealt the killing blow. He was weak and injured, he couldn't chase people down. It was the others that hunted and killed. He only ate. It may not be the most lucid or most justifiable of thoughts, but he grasped at anything that could comfort him. I hope it was true. With no prey to hunt or to eat, the voice inside his head had quieted. He still couldn't control his body, for he had been driven into a small space at the edge of his mind, but at the least he found peace. It was in these moments of respite he could clearly think. He remembered what happened after the small parasite entered his nostril. He couldn't resist because the hardened plaster that was the power of the Adumbry terrorist kept him in place. He recalled the mental battle, the voice inside his head, his mind pushed away. Then there was something not from this world, something from across the void talking. But not to him, to the creature that took control of his body. The mutations followed. The terrorist laughed and taunted him as he lost his body to the new entity that moved in his mind. The terrorist Finley. Adam vividly recalled his name, even if nothing else. To make matters worse, Finley's boss called him again and apparently berated him for not following orders. He then took out his annoyance on the mutating Adam, toying with him, wounding him and breaking some of his bones. That was the reason why Adam's monster body was severely weakened. Finley's unhinged laughter still rung in Adam's ears. The terrorist monologued about the true plan, whatever that meant, and that he was going to get back at the woman who got angry at him. Something about that woman being loyal to the wrong person. Adam couldn't recall much of what else Finley said because memories of his torture resurfaced each time he thought about it. Fortunately, he wasn't able to feel pain during that ordeal. Or was it really fortunate? He was already losing his body at that point after all. He was just in the back seat, watching his monster form getting broken by a deranged Adumbry. There were shrieks ahead of him. It wasn't the cry, so he didn't care. Or maybe he should. He stopped walking in that direction. Was it the others eating each other? He didn't know why they did that, for he hadn't felt such an urge himself. Best to avoid those that do eat others. Given how weak he was, they'd probably just eat him too. A charred slug-human hybrid came from the direction of the riot of monstrous calls. It slithered with great effort across the floor, leaving a trail of black liquid and gelatinous blobs. It reached out to him with a pudgy hand. Its half-burnt human face looked up to him and asked for help. At the end of the corridor, the one responsible for the commotion showed itself. A smoldering humanoid, a walking charcoal of a man. Adam took a hesitant step backward. Was this one going to attack him? Is that our uniform? Most of it was burnt away, but Adam had been a security guard of this building for years and they rarely changed the design of their uniform, so he easily recognized it. Who was this? Most of them were killed, he saw it in the security cameras. The boys at the parking area especially met cruel fates. The monster Adam didn't know what to do. He knew he was weak and couldn't fight this one. He crouched beside the moaning slug and attempted to use its bulk to hide. It kept on saying, "Help me," to his ear, but he didn't pay attention to it. He kept very still while the charcoal man walked past him. "Ramon, where are you?" it said in a hoarse voice. Ramon? Who was that? He felt that he had heard that name before. The charcoal man kept on repeating it, his voice getting softer as he went further away. Adam stared at the back of the charcoal man as it turned left and disappeared from view. Comfort. It was nonsense and stupid and selfish, but somehow, Adam felt comfort that another guard was also turned into a monster. Why am I thinking like this? His ears fluttered. A sound. Faint. Familiar. He got back up his feet, his heart raced, his monster body feeling anticipation. But even if his heart wasn't his anymore, Adam could feel the phantom beating of fear. The fear grew in the same vein the monster's anticipation grew. Anticipation of the hunt. There was the call. The call the monster waited for, the call that Adam the human was terrified to hear. The others found prey. He must hurry. Hurry or there would be nothing left for him to eat. When he arrived at the feast, he found 3 humans. 2 of them had fallen. The others crowded on top of them, there was no place for him. The last one was inside a glass office. She barricaded herself by pushing down a bookcase to block the door. But that wouldn't stop them, not for long. The others were still busy eating the 2 humans they caught. Adam the monster licked his lips in anticipation. The glass walls would be easy to bring down. Even though he was weak, he could probably do it. He was going to do it. He'd get to the prey first before the others. No. Don't kill her. Security. Help me, the woman inside the room yelled into the office phone. Hello, security. Sorry, no one is going to answer that. Adam swiped at the glass wall with his claws. You stupid monster, the woman aimed a gun at him. Come in here and I'll shoot you. It made him pause for a bit. A gun was supposed to be dangerous, his human brain knew that. But why did the monster stop too? It didn't care about what he thought before. Clawing her way to the top. He has heard that before. Mel, I know her. But I can't recall her name. The memory of a lawyer getting angry at the security guards because of some complaint floated in his minuscule consciousness. He couldn't remember the exact incident, but this woman was etched in his brain because she nearly got him fired by threatening to sue the management due to some petty grievance. Maybe I should eat. No. No. That's not me talking. This was the right time for revenge. He was going to kill and eat her. He began slamming his body at the glass wall. Web-like cracks spread on its surface. Faster. Before the others made their move. I'm not going down as monster food. I'm so sorry. I can't do anything to help you. The others were already here. The woman was yelling all sorts of profanities at them from the other side of the wall while pulling out her hair and waving her gun. He couldn't understand what exactly she was saying because that was no longer the focus of his thoughts. He had to get to inside. He had to take the first bite. The glass shattered and the crowd of monsters finally got in the room. They scrambled on top of each other to get to the woman who's standing behind the large table. She had the gun in her hand pointed at her head. I'm going out on my own terms. Bang. Thank you, it wasn't me who killed you, I'm sorry. Adam the monster didn't care if the prey killed itself. He jumped in the crowd and pushed in. He was like the runt of the litter. If he didn't position himself well, he wouldn't be able to eat. He was prepared to fight even if he was weak. Fear. He instinctively jumped to the other side of the huge wood office table and scrambled to hide beneath it. He curled up to one side, deathly afraid of something. His heart pounded, terrified beyond anything he has ever felt before. All the others were also frozen in fear. The blank eyes of the woman's corpse stared at his cowering body. What's happening? He asked her even though she wasn't going to answer, blood draining out the hole on the side of her head. Bomb. Bam. This is fun. They really can't do anything if the gizmo is on. Boss Decano, what's this thing called again? I don't know. I wasn't listening when Mr. explained. There was more shooting. Stop that. It's fine to shoot them, right boss? We're not taking these as samples. Yeah, boss. Wes got's plenty already. Stop shooting, you idiots, because I'm calling that asshole Finley. Let's hear what he has to say before clapping his smug cheeks. The terrorists. Adam couldn't see them because the bottom part of the table he was hiding behind blocked his view. And that was good. If he couldn't see them, they couldn't see him either. They seemed to be killing some of the others for fun. What were they doing here? Finley. You bastard, you finally picked up. What the hell are you doing? What's up with the late report that Erend may be out of her room? Adam tried to focus on the conversation, but the entity who had control of his body was shivering in fear. From the bits and pieces he could pick up, it seemed Finley was delayed with the updates from the security room and Decano was going there to check up on him. They also sent some people to capture this Erend they were hunting and kill the survivors who were helping her escape. The wolf woman, whoever she was, still wasn't around. Who was he referring to? The bid? Were they going to be rescued? Probably not. That gave Adam a pause. What would he do if rescue indeed came? The bid and the police were going to kill him. Bob is with Stella, and I'm going to check on your incompetent ass. That's why I'm making sure that only normal humans are with Erend. There was a pause as this Decano person listened to Finley's response. Don't play games with me, Finley. Miss Stella is going to rip you apart. After she deals with the wolf woman and captures her, I'm sure she's going to kill you. There was a stomp on the ground followed by a couple of shots. Boss. You killed them too. I thought you said. I know what I said. That asshole Finley dropped the call on me. We should put him in his place as boss. Nah, Decano said. He's being a dick because he knows Miss Stella can't use her power all the time. The longer she doesn't use it, the stronger her transformation gets, right boss? Yes. And that bastard Finley is banking on Miss Stella saving her power for the wolf woman instead of squishing him like the slimy worm that he is. After the terrorists left, Adam the monster still didn't leave his hiding spot. But the others were already moving. They pulled away the woman's corpse and ate her. He didn't join in, the overwhelming fear still gripping his heart. Then, he noticed black liquid on the floor, it was spreading towards him. Curious, he finally got out from under the table and checked the other side. One of the others. Dead. He was so hungry. There was nothing left of the woman. He was very, very hungry. He knew the others ate each other. Should he try this one? He knelt down beside it and started eating. It felt right. Maybe he should start eating the others too. Maybe he would get stronger. Stronger so he wouldn't fear anything. He didn't want to experience that fear again. Maybe, just maybe, if he ate that charcoal man he would get very, very strong. Stronger. Adam the monster would like that. The charcoal man was going to be food the next time he saw him. I'm sorry my fellow guard, I can't control myself, I hope we don't meet each other again. 2:31 a.m., Wednesday, February 5, 2020. Lizzie leaned towards me, her hand cupped around her mouth, and whispered, "Hey, Aunt Pino." Yeah, she was really calling me her aunt now. Weird kid. I bent down. I have a secret. Want to hear it? Really, kid? This wasn't the time and place for childish shit. We were lined up against the wall, keeping quiet because there were some monsters on the other side, and this kid wanted to gossip. Despite myself, I replied in a hushed voice, "A secret." "Promise you won't get angry," she said. I rolled my eye, but it didn't properly convey my exasperation because I only had one. I checked on what Doms was doing at the head of our line. She was scouting the way to the elevators using a cell phone tied to the end of a pole with its video recording turned on. Then I looked back at Lizzie. "Sure, I promise." "Aunt Pino, I wanted to see Erend when we were hiding together, so I peeked under the blanket." I pointed at the cart with my human body beside us and questioningly tilted my head at Lizzie. "I'm not going to get angry at that," I answered. "What did you think of her? If she was going to say my human body was ugly, I'm going to throw you to the monsters when I get the chance." "She's pretty." I nodded my head. "Okay, kid. We're going to be friends. Pretty normal." "Fine, I wasn't going to argue with that." "That's the secret?" "No. I noticed something with her." "You mean noticed?" I said, and she nodded. "Was there something wrong with my human body?" Okay, what is it?" "She's sleeping but not really." "What do you mean by that?" She exaggeratedly inhaled and exhaled, then pointed at her nose. What's this again?" "Nose? Breathing?" "Yeah, breathing." "I forgot," Lizzie said with a frown. "She's not doing that. And she's very pale. But not dead. That's the secret." She looked at me with a serious expression as if it was some great revelation. I guess, to her, or to any normal person, it really was super weird. "How can you tell she's not dead?" "She's warm," she said. I touched her. I see, I had to take her word for that because I couldn't feel any temperature with my metal body. That was a sort of relief to know my human body was still warm. I was low-key getting concerned what was up with it because it didn't have the greenish glow other people have. "I know dead people are cold," Lizzie said matter-of-factly, like when kids were proud of knowing an adult fact. "I found Grandma cold before." "There's only two of them," Dom said, interrupting my nice little chat with her daughter. "Normal zombie types that haven't mutated into something nastier." I leaned to the side to see past Julie and Paolo's massive form, and saw Dom's waving her cell phone back at me. She already watched the footage it captured. I gave her a thumbs up. "We can do this." she insistently projected in my head. Then we'll be able to use the elevators. Hopefully, they work. We have to check them ASAP to plan our next steps if they're busted. You're right. Just 2 zombies. With Doms decked out in her blades and armor and Paolo in his powerful copied form, we could easily make short work of those 2. But do keep in mind that any nearby monsters might also come, recalling what happened to me and Caesar, and that Dom said she saw some monsters in the floor above us. I sent my thoughts to both Doms and Paolo. Got it. Paolo said. Even though we were communicating with our minds, I sensed the eagerness in his thoughts. Just a typical guy, excited to test out his brand new strength like it was a toy. We'll quickly kill them. The 2 of them replied to me, but they couldn't hear each other's thoughts. Once the 3 of us were connected, I instantly sensed that the 2 of them would also be able to speak to each other using our links. I immediately blocked it. It was hard to maintain concentration with all the finger links I was using, not just controlling the output of power, but also guarding the thoughts that passed between the 3 of us. Besides keeping it a secret that they could communicate with each other, I also didn't want them to know I could actually control them if I needed to. Of course, they could mentally fight back, and I'd most likely lose if they concentrated hard enough. However, if I could surprise them, I'd be able to control them for a few seconds before they realized what was happening. Best to keep my cards close to my flat metal chest. Do we go now? Asked Doms. Wait. I'll be the bait, I said. Paolo, Dom said there's a couple of them. Just 2. Paolo said. No need to be the bait, Pino. I could smash them all. I want the 2 of you to be as safe as possible, I said. When they are on me, the 2 of you kill them. Target 1 each. I'll take whatever monster will be on your right side. Paolo said he'll take the right, so you get the left, I said to Doms. Copy that. Julie, I whispered to Paolo's sister who had no idea what was happening in our mental conversations and was watching us with a perplexed expression, take care of Lizzie in the sleeping errand. We're going to fight. She gazed up in concern at Paolo's imposing stature. Pao, don't do anything stupid. She reached out and awkwardly patted his tremendously muscled arm covered with hair. Paolo was only able to grunt in response because he no longer had a human mouth to speak with. He waved his hand, which was large enough to grasp her entire head, as if to say she had nothing to worry about. I'll first check the location of the parasites, I said as I walked to the corner that turned right to the elevators. Then I'll give the signal to attack. There was no need for me to do this bait thing since these were just the weak zombie ones, Doms and Paolo could handle it. But I had a couple of goals to tick off here. 1, I wanted to look like I cared about them, I couldn't resist the urge to build this face, and 2, I was going to test my healing finger on these monsters. I stepped out from behind the corner. 2 of them, like Dom said. 1 was standing right in front of the elevator, as if it was waiting for it to open. The other zombie was kneeling on the floor, surrounded by a pool of black goo, doing some prayer-like motions. They both turned to face me with blank stares. Tiny tendrils crawled out of their mouths. Damn, the parasites inside were starting to mutate them. I pointed my healing finger at the kneeling zombie and fired. I hit it just below its right collarbone. I started pumping it with my power, the blue thread connecting us glowing brighter. Was it going to turn it back to human? Or was it going to decay at a rapid rate? Where was the other one? Do we go now? Paolo asked. Enough of this shit. Attack them. The parasites? Doms begun to ask. Inside them. The tentacle things. Suddenly, the asshole zombie biting my head was pried off. Paolo's huge bulk blanketed me with its shadow. He held the struggling zombie above his head. My arm that the other zombie was biting suddenly felt lighter. I looked down and saw that only the head remained attached on my arm. The headless body, now controlled by the tentacle parasite, was being hacked to pieces by Doms. "Are you okay?" Paolo said. He started twisting and pulling apart the zombie he captured. "Wait. Huh? Why?" I was still connected to the zombie, and I continued using my healing power on it, but I didn't notice anything wrong with it. I mean, there was something obviously wrong with it because it was a mutated human with freaking tentacles coming out of its mouth. But there was no indication that my healing power had any effect, whether in a positive or a negative way. "Never mind. Kill it. Die, you monster," he shouted in my mind. The zombie shrieked as its body was stretched until the skin, and muscles, and bones could no longer hold on. Like a pie, Ada smashed open, there was an explosion, not of candies, but of the zombie's innards. It reminded me of what the gorilla monster did to me. In fact, this was exactly what the gorilla monster did to me, minus the shower of blood and guts, because Paolo copied its form. In each massive fist, Paolo held a half of the zombie. He bellowed as he waved the zombie pieces in the air. He was enjoying himself too much. One would assume he would have misgivings about using the body of his father's killer. The green color had been snuffed out, but the red was still there. A large piece of the clump of tentacles that was the parasite, managing to keep itself mostly in one piece, escaped from inside the torn body of its host like a nut jumping out of its cracked shell. I grabbed its tentacles as it tried to flee. It jumped on me and tried to bind me. Paolo came to my aid and easily ripped it away. He threw it to the floor and flattened it with a stomp of the clawed toes of his wolf-like hind legs. "Can you help me with this too?" I held out my arm with the head of the other zombie still attached. Paolo pinched the head like it was a grape, and it sprayed me with more black goo. "That's a bit brutal, isn't it?" I said, wiping away the gore from my body. "Looks like Dom's is done too." "Is it dead?" she asked me. "The parasite?" She gave her zombie a few more stabs for good measure. "It's dead. If only all of them are this easy. Unfortunately, they're not. Wishing is free." Dom shrugged. "I'll get Lizzie and Julie." "So, how's your body, Paolo?" This was the power granted by the third finger of my right hand. Before Doms absorbed the corpse of the gorilla monster to remake her armor, Paolo copied it, gaining its form and strength. Although to what extent he inherited its power and abilities, we weren't sure of. We also didn't know how long this transformation would last. But we did confirm he couldn't copy a living target as Doms asked him to try it on her and nothing happened. I noticed a sort of pattern here. The fingers on my right hand gave powers to puppets such as strength, armor, and being able to copy a dead body, while the fingers on my left were more of supporting the puppets, like healing and transferring damage between targets. "It feels great," he said. He beat his chest like a gorilla would and roared. "Quiet down," I said. "You'll attract other monsters to our position." "Yeah, I'm sore." "You also roared earlier. You should really control yourself." "It's just that the strength I feel like I could really kill the Adumbri that caused all of this. With this strength I can rip apart all the monsters we meet." "Now, where have I heard that before?" I thought sarcastically. "Don't forget these were people," I scolded him while pointing at the zombies. "They're victims too, you know. Just like you." Wow, I was surprised I could say that without breaking into giggles. Having a robotic-sounding voice did help. I had worn faces that cared about others, but I was certain I hadn't said anything like this before. He slowly lowered his arms. Yes, I forgot. Is Paolo okay?" Julie asked me. I was just telling him not to get drunk on power. I also faced Doms for a second when I said that, building up my face some more. "I think I should remove my powers from Paolo." "What? Why?" He also made a sound that was a cross between a grunt and a keen whine. "For now. If we need it later, you can transform again. But I'll need another dead monster to copy." I already explained this to Doms that I don't know what the long-term effects of my powers are on you normal humans. I don't want you to escape here alive just to get locked up by the bid afterwards. So far, looks like Doms is fine. But you, I'm not so sure. I'm fine too. Julie didn't know what her brother was saying to me, only hearing the grunts of the gorilla monster form, but she understood her brother was being stubborn. Paolo, please listen to Pino. I don't want you to turn into a monster. I did this little shtick for Doms, now I had to do it to Paolo for consistency's sake. Now, on to the real reason why he had to return to human form. You do know you're not going to fit inside the elevator with that size? His boulder-like shoulders slumped upon realizing that teensy-weensy fact. You're right. I don't think he should change back yet, Dom said. We all turned to her. She was by the elevator. Both of these are not working. Huh. They're turned off. The Adumbri must have deliberately disabled the elevators. Shit. Where the stairs are only way down. Julie, what's the time? I said, remembering something important. Can you check your phone? It's 2:37 a.m., she said. Why? 2:37 a.m. If I recalled correctly, I started this transformation at 1:01 a.m. And Spooky Aaron said I only had about 3 hours or so in this form. Still nothing, I said. I pressed the down button a couple more times just to make sure. No blinking lights, no rumblings of the elevator moving, no ticking numbers. Looks like the Adumbri have really turned them off somehow, I said. We descended the stairs to check a couple more floors, killing some weak monsters along the way, and confirmed that the elevators were indeed disabled. I punched its metal door. I wasn't angry or anything, I just thought it would have been a cool moment if I could make a dent on it, but I was too weak to pull off cool moves. Wouldn't cracking concrete be cooler? Note to self, punch a concrete wall until it cracks when I return to my not-so-normal body. They must be in control of the security room of the building, Dom said while smoothing out Lizzie's hair, careful that her blades didn't hit her daughter. She surveyed our surroundings, her gaze stopping at the security camera on the right corner of the ceiling. Who knows, they may already be looking at us. Pow, stop making noise, Julie said, kicking her brother's legs. So, Miss Pino, what do we do now? Continue going down the stairs. Dom said. I stared at the shiny metal door of the elevator, examining the reflection of the ragtag band of survivors. Behind me. Yeah, I think we can do it. Alone, I wasn't going to make it down the stairs fighting monsters while protecting my human body. Actually, I couldn't really fight back without puppets. Now, with Doms and especially Paolo by my side, I had a realistic chance to escape with my human body unharmed using the stairs, unless we meet several monsters on the level of the gorilla monster. What if we met Adumbri? If worse came to worst, I'd leave these guys behind as bait. Paolo would be especially easy to goad into fighting. Doms, on the other hand, would probably be the first to leave me if she had the chance to safely escape with her daughter. I'd just make sure to leave her before she could abandon me. I turned to face them and nodded. Yes, we don't have any other way down except the stairs. We'll have to risk it. Lizzie said, hopping on her toes while raising her hand. Julie sighed. Fortunately, we're going down, not up. Imagine if we had to climb 20 floors. Aunt Pino. Lizzie frantically waved her hand. I'm sorry the elevators here don't work, I said to her. I recall it was your suggestion to go here. It's still a good choice to come here, Dom said, patting her daughter to comfort her, because there are fewer monsters here. True that. And we also saved Paolo and Julie. Lizzie stamped her foot in frustration. No. The big elevator. The big elevator. I pointed. At the 2 elevators behind me. Those are not big. Dom snapped her fingers. The freight elevator. Oh yeah. That one. We forgot about that. Sorry, Lizzie. That's my baby girl, Dom said. All that fighting and we became too fixated on reaching these ones that we forgot about the freight elevator. Lizzie folded her arms with a look of superiority. Humph. See, I'm helpful. Mommy, how about Daddy? And if it's also not working, Dom said, raising her voice and ignoring Lizzie, we can use the stairs there. There's practically no one in that area at this time, which means no one to turn into monsters. Unless some wandered over there, Julie said. Still our safest bet. Sounds like a plan, I said. Where is it, anyway? I wasn't pretending not to know where it was because I was supposed to be an outsider who came to rescue Errand. I seriously didn't know where the friggin' freight elevator was. Lizzie? I don't know, Lizzie said. I also can't remember, said Doms. She looked down at Lizzie who was on the verge of crying. There, we're not angry at you. We'll go looking for it. It shouldn't be hard to find. Pow, didn't Dad have that massive bookcase delivered like 3 months ago? Weren't you there when it arrived? Her gorilla brother nodded. The delivery guys would have used the freight elevator. Do you remember where it was? He said he does, I told Julie, relaying what Paolo was saying in my mind. He's trying to remember. Oh, he recalls the way, isn't that right? Paolo gave us a massive thumbs up. Let's go, I said. I'd rather take the elevator than fight our way through. I checked the floor number. 18 floors of monsters. I led the way while Paolo gave instructions in my head. This wasn't me showing a heroic side to build my face, this was simply the setup most beneficial to me. If I kept Paolo and Doms unscathed, then I'd have more firepower at my disposal, their safety directly benefited me. Furthermore, I preferred the two of them to be near my human body instead of being in front. We encountered a few monsters. None of the dangerous eldritch-looking horribly mutated assholes, just mid-sized ones. Having had experience dealing with these guys, we had no problems taking them out and clearing the way. We also came across a few human corpses, but fortunately no more survivors. I say, fortunately, because I didn't want to add to our number. It would be harder to manage a bigger group. Left? You sure? I said, peering down the hall. This looks just like more empty rooms. Paolo scratched his head. Hang on. Is everything okay, Pao? He said he's getting confused because he knows the way, but on the 23rd floor. He's trying to work out the way here. Different layout? Doms mused. If you know the general direction. You should have told us that earlier, Julie said. Don't stress your brother, said Doms. Take your time, Paolo. We're safe here. Let's have a break while you collect your thoughts. What if we return to the 23rd floor? That would take some time. I looked around for any signs that would point us the right way. Maybe if we could find a floor map or something. Right above Paolo was an open vent. Spiky things were poking out of it, followed by the huge head of an insect monster. In a split second, I decided against hijacking his body and moving him out of the way, but instead I yelled, "Look out! Above you!" The monster stabbed his back with its mantis-like blades. Paolo cried in pain, but he was able to grab the monster's arms and pulled its blades out of his body. More guttural hollers came from him as the blades that were lined with hooks ripped out chunks of his flesh as he removed them. He threw the monster away and stumbled backward, apparently shocked by the pain. Doms charged at the human-sized mantis, stabbing it before it could get up on its numerous spindly legs. The insect monster tried to stab her back, but its blades couldn't penetrate her armor. Julie pulled Lizzie away from the commotion, then rushed behind the cart. She seemed to consider helping her brother, but he was flailing his arms from the pain, so decided to stay put and hide with Lizzie. Paolo! Julie yelled as he rolled on the floor from the pain. Black goo gushed out of his wounds. The gorilla monster wouldn't have minded these kinds of injuries, but it was obviously the first time Paolo felt pain of this magnitude. I couldn't heal him just yet because my healing finger was connected to Dom's. It was counteracting my strength finger that was giving her the power to move in her heavy armor and fight the mantis monster. And it did stop. Its legs beneath it seized up, folding to its stomach. Due to its momentum, it continued skidding across the floor, hitting the cart and toppling it over. But because I concentrated on keeping it immobilized, Julie and Lizzie were able to run away from it. Jumbled, overwhelming, oppressive. What is this? I said. The hell? I actually fell down after receiving the mental assault even though no one physically pushed me. It was like dreaming of falling, and then suddenly jerking awake, but 10 times more jarring. Was that the parasite taking back control of its host? That was dangerous. I wouldn't want it to connect to my mind. Mommy! Run away! Doms yelled at the girls while still entangled with the mantis monster. Crunch. That's already dead, enough of that. I told him. Help Doms. He grunted in acknowledgement and sauntered over to Doms. He pried open the blade arms of the mantis monster that was holding down Doms, and the two of them dismantled it. A creature that looked like an eel slinked out from the between chitinous plating of the monster. The parasite. I pointed at it. Doms stabbed its tail, pinning it to the floor to stop it from slithering into the crack beneath a door. Paolo flattened it on the ground with an open palm. We didn't move for a few seconds, as if expecting another monster to pop up. Okay, we're good, I said. That was a bit of a mess, but we're good. It just goes to show we had way easier time dealing with monsters if I used myself as bait to draw them to me. Doms rushed to check on her daughter. Paolo slumped against the wall and slowly slid down to a sitting position, painting the wall behind him with the black goo from the wounds on his back. Julie knelt beside her brother. Miss Pino, I think it's better if you turn him back to human. Paolo vigorously shook his head while patting his sister's shoulder. Tell her I'm fine. But you're not fine, I said, putting my hands on my hips. Your sister's right, you should. No. We'll lose this powerful transformation. I'm not going to copy that insect thing. It's too weak. He was right. This transformation was our biggest asset. If we had no choice but to use the stairs, we'd really need this gorilla form with us. If you want to stay that way, then at least let me heal you. But I need to focus my power on you. Where's Doms? No. He stood up straight. I said I'm fine. I was just surprised by the pain. But this body can take it, just needed some getting used to. He pointed down the hallway. I think I know where to go now. The pain jogged my memory. Pow, are you really okay? Julie asked, but he ignored her and continued walking. Tell her there's no problem. I don't want to lose this body, its power, I don't want to lose it. I shrugged and followed him. He's saying he knows the way. And, Julie, he wants you to know he's doing fine. Whoa. Lizzie said. This is the way to the big elevator. It's the same on our floor, I mean your floor too. I said to Lizzie, whom I was carrying in my arms. I hoped they wouldn't notice my slip up there. Yup, it's the same way. I remember this Soar Cory. Corridor, Dom said. She was beside me pushing the cart with my human body. Corridor. It looks the same. Julie rushed to the door of the freight elevator. Oh my God, it's on. We hurried to get closer. See, the lights are on. Yes. She excitedly pressed the down button. Mommy, should we find Daddy so he can go with us? Lizzie said. Oh, sweetie, Wait a minute, I said. The numbers. I think it was already going down before Julie even pressed it. Wah. Someone is using it. Everyone, hide. Quick. I gave Lizzie to Julie and shooed them away. Was I wrong to do that? Julie said. Follow what Pino said. Hide over there. Doms pushed the cart to the side before I even gave an explanation. I get it. Are we going to fight? I'll be bait, as usual, I said. We'll take them on. We have to try and take control of this elevator, then decide what to do next. Guys, what's going on? Paolo said. If it gets ugly, you guys run. Don't worry about me, I'm not going to die easily. But please do take care of Erend. Will do, Dom said. Paolo, you stay at the right side. Keep yourself out of view. Wait for Pino's instructions. Guys. Someone is using the elevator, I explained. Given that the Adumbri have seemingly disabled the other elevators, there's a chance the ones using this elevator are our enemies. Ah. I understand now. It's here. Ding. The elevator opened. There were 4 assholes inside. The guy nearest to the door carried what appeared to be a high-powered electroshock weapon. The 2 at his sides each had an assault rifle. The dude at the back touted a sawed-off shotgun and had some sort of machine the size of a briefcase slung over his shoulder. Most likely normal humans. They also didn't look like the bid. I was slightly concerned the bid might already be attacking this place. They were laughing loudly and chatting with each other. They weren't expecting us. Instant silence when they saw me. An electric field enveloped me. Ah! I dropped to the floor. Streaks of electricity danced all over my body. Please. Stop. Then I looked up at him. Just kidding. Party time. Point it left, I ordered the guy with the electroshock weapon. The fool, he exclaimed when he suddenly shocked his buddy beside him. What are you doing? Kev. I didn't mean to oof, an uppercut to the chin shut him up. Don't move. His brain still sloshing inside his skull offered barely any conscious resistance. I followed it up with a punch right on the middle of his face. Blood spurted out of his broken nose. I pushed the end of his electroshock weapon down to his friend shuddering on the floor. Hold the trigger. Sparks flew all around us. BRRT. BRRT ping. 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 Die, said the soon-to-be-dead asshole. BRRT. Ping. Ping. Don't shoot in here, idiot. The guy with the weird machine crouched to the back of the elevator as bullets ricocheted everywhere, joining the shower of sparks. I'm hit. Pino. Do you need help? There's gunfire. Stay outside. I told them both. I crouched down and yanked away the weapon of the fried guy on the floor. The asshole firing at me stopped for a moment, clear from his hesitant expression that he was concerned of hitting his buddy. I pointed my borrowed gun at him. His eyes went wide and mouthed, no. Too bad. I tried pulling the trigger but couldn't. The safety lock, or was it jammed? I'll kill you. He yelled a string of curses and sprayed me with bullets. I got splattered with the blood of the guy convulsing beside me. What a friend. Turn it on, he yelled. Let go. The guy I was linked with, still doozy from my metal knuckle sandwich, followed my order and locked him in a bear hug. Turn what on? I knocked his head back with the butt of the rifle. Then I threw it down and grabbed his gun. At least yours works. I pulled the trigger. Bullet holes appeared on his chest, on the wall above his shoulder, and traced a path to the ceiling, shattering the lights. Whoa! What a recoil! I didn't intend my aim to go up. And my joints were nearly dislocated because I wasn't holding the rifle correctly. Don't kill me, Erg. He vomited blood on the shoulder of his woozy buddy holding him. I think I was supposed to have the rifle's butt against my shoulder. I hoped my shoulder joint could handle this. Didn't you want to kill me too? I stepped closer and held the end of the gun an inch from his forehead. I wasn't going to miss this time. Please, sorry, Irk. BRRT. His head slammed against the wall, then slumped down, his chin touching his chest. A quick death for you. A few inches right and another spurt of bullets. I felt a mind link dissipate. And a quick death for your friend. I turned around and observed the electrocuted guy on the floor. Bloody, smoking, and not moving. I shrugged and put a few rounds in his head. Aren't there 4 of you? Paolo. Dom said from outside the elevator. Bam. Got him. Bam. Bam. I'll be taking that from you, said Doms. You could have killed me. The sneaky guy somehow crawled out of the elevator right under my nose. Paolo held him up in the air by the scruff of his clothes like a mother cat would with her kitten. He punched and kicked Paolo, a smattering of blood spreading on the floor from his wounds caused by stray bullets from earlier, but achieved nothing except looking funny. I raised a proverbial brow at that statement since I physically had none. That sounded familiar. If I recalled correctly, the guys with Vanessa mentioned something about rival organizations of the 2MS in Las Vegas, the city of Augs. What were the names those guys again? Doms trained our captive's own shotgun at him. Shut up. We're the ones who'll ask the questions. There was a smudge of black on her otherwise white bony chest plate. But there wasn't any crack. Ding. I glanced over the elevator's control panel and did some quick thinking. Yeah, better not use this. I held out my hand by the door to stop it from closing. Then I picked up the guns, the electroshock weapon, and the weird box, and threw them out of the elevator car. I stared at the bodies, considering getting another one for use later. Nah, the one we have was enough. I stepped out of the car and it went on its merry way down. Wait, what? Doms moved towards the door but I stopped her. I thought we're going to use it, she said. I could have fit inside it. Quiet down a bit, I said, I'm thinking. I picked up the stupid gun that wouldn't work and clubbed his wounded leg with it. He yelled both in pain and surprise. Geez, don't people know how to behave anymore? Don't talk unless we tell you. You have an annoying whiny voice. Then I handed the gun to Doms. Trade. Can you figure this out? I think it has its safety on. She didn't respond, still a bit taken aback by what I just did. I took the sawed-off shotgun from her. And can you take care of that security camera up there? The floor buttons thingy in the elevator car. There's no button turned on. So? The elevator car didn't stop here because of Julie. These assholes were really going to this floor. And we could have used the elevator. Dom said, anger creeping in her voice. We can escape. Just now, the elevator was going down. If there's no button lit up, it means someone is calling for it below. Either other survivors or more of these assholes, I'll bet on the latter. Which also means we can't use the stairs here because the enemy will be somewhere downstairs. I gestured at the weapons I borrowed. At least I got these. I don't know if I'm right on this one. If they pressed the button for this floor then they know that we're here. They know about us. Dom said. The security cameras? Yes. Although there's something I don't understand here. These assholes were surprised seeing me. Maybe we're not the ones they're looking for. The easy way to know is to ask him, Dom said. Hey, scumbag. Are you hunting us? Errand, said Doms. She glanced at me. Lizzie jumped from behind a column and shouted. You can't have errand. Julie cupped her mouth to shut her up and pulled her back to the safety of the concrete column. Dom said, you girls stay hidden. What is he talking about? Doms privately asked me. I had no idea what he was talking about either. I messaged both Doms and Paolo with my best guess, he thinks I'm from a rival organization. Another Adumbri organization with nefarious goals. I'm not though. I'm part of a group of Adumbri that wants to stop all of them from doing evil deeds. Cringy heroic speech. I didn't know if they believed it even though it was, in some twisted way, kind of the truth. There was a ton of misunderstanding going on. Misunderstanding I didn't care about. But I was able to confirm the two MS were involved. I think I even heard the name Stella mentioned by one of the hero wannabes before, and that they were after me once again. Still, the question of why he was surprised to see us was unanswered. I was with my human body the entire time. I assumed they must have seen me leave my room through the security cameras, and they probably had someone check out my room afterwards, so they knew the body wrapped in the blanket was the person they were looking for. But then, they should also know we were guarding this body, right? However, from the reaction of these asshats, they didn't even expect we had errand, or rather, my human body, with us all along. And why send just these four idiots to get me? They should have sent augmented dudes at the least if they saw they had to fight us. I knew the two MS had some of those. Everything was already wrong, but something was even wronger. I don't think that's a word. Figures. Anyway, you know how to get through those vine things wrapping the building? He chuckled. You went in here without an escape plan? Paolo shook him and roared at his face. What? He said. You gonna torture me? I don't know shit about that. I'm going to break this guy's bones. Paolo grabbed each of the guy's arms, dangled him in the air and started to pull. Pino. Tell this guy I'm going to rip his limbs off if he doesn't answer. What are you doing? Stop that. Dom said. Hold on, I really don't know. Stop pulling. Paolo bellowed and violently shook him. I really don't know. Tears streamed down the guy's cheeks. It hurts. Paolo. Julie rushed out of her hiding spot. Stop it. Just stop it. Do you realize what you're doing? He slowly lowered the guy. You're doing the same thing that Monster did to Dad. I clapped my hands to get their attention. Enough of that. I don't think we'll get anything useful from him. I jabbed my thumb in the direction of the elevator. And look, it's going up. We need to go. I slapped him again. How amusing he suddenly got brave again. But if he was right, those were Adumbri coming here, then we better pack up and leave on the double. Julie, you know how to use a gun. Here. I gave her the shotgun. And also take this weird machine box thingy he has. I hung the strap of the electroshock weapon across my shoulder while picking the other assault rifle as my main weapon. We're moving out. Paolo, put our friend on the floor and hold him still. Why are you pointing the gun at him? Dom said. Because I'm going to kill him. You'll do what? Just leave him tied up. We can use the fire hose over there. We're not going to leave him, I said. We need his corpse for Paolo. Dom's put herself in front of the guy. Hey, what's up? Move out of the way. You seriously can't be planning to make Paolo copy this guy? Huh? What am I going to do? Pino. The elevator's coming up, I said. Move out of the way. There's no time. Did she have a problem with Paolo copying a bad guy? We can discuss copying him later. But we need to kill him now. It's much easier and safer to carry a corpse. We heard a distinct metallic twang followed by cracks in the air like that made by a heavy whip. Mechanical crunches and bangs that didn't sound normal joined in. We all turned to the elevator. I assumed none of us have heard it before, but we all knew what it was. The cables inside were cut. But where was sound of the crash? Was it too far away? Or did the elevator car have emergency brake? The guy we captured tried to pull away from Paolo, and all of our attention went back to him. Why threaten us with death when we're going to kill you? I said. I only saw that in movies, but never expected to encounter such behavior in real life. Like, what the hell? He was just giving me more reason to kill him. Paolo, Dom said, release him. Ah, eh. But Pino said. This is weird. I knew me and my kind couldn't relate to the emotions of normal people, how they processed information and think and such. But we were very good at understanding them even if we couldn't relate. And I'd like to think I had a good read on Dom's. Which was why I couldn't understand her now. You had no problems with me killing those guys in the elevator? I asked her. That's different. These are evil people, I said. I thought we were already on the same page. Should I just kill her too? Would Paolo and Julie still go with me if I did that? Probably not. What's the difference? I know you're an Adumbri and you don't think like us, but be it Adumbri or human, what you're going to do to him, this is a cold-blooded murder. I'm not going to let you do that. I blinked. You win. I lowered my gun and walked away. There was no point arguing with her. Leave him there then and let's go before the Adumbri comes up the stairs. I'm sure they're not going to be stopped by whatever that was. I'll just release him. Yeah. Let him go. The asshat crawled to the elevator and rested against the door. He wiped the blood on his mouth. What? You expect me to thank you? Eat shit. I pointed my finger at the goon. Stay there. Don't follow us or do anything funny. Or else. I traced my finger across my neck. Was that cringy? I guess so. Oh well, I can't take that back anymore. Without warning, the building shook. Julie and Lizzie screamed. Doms rushed to her daughter. Earthquake. A bomb. The power of an Adumbri. Dust fell from the ceiling. Cracks appeared. Run. I said. Run. Paolo echoed in my head. He scooped up Julie and Lizzie in one arm and the cart with my body with the other. All of us went out of the room with the freight elevator and into the hallway. Before turning right, I looked back at the dude sitting by the elevator door. He stared up at the crumbling ceiling. A large pillar burst out of the ceiling and smashed him. It continued going down, punching through the floor and onto the lower levels. The building continued shaking. And we continued running. 2:39 a.m., Wednesday, February 5, 2020. I finally caught your slippery ass. Myra Fletcher, or maybe she should refer to herself as Barb, since they were on a mission, gloated down at one of the Adumbri enforcers of the 2MS. Checkmate, Icor baby. End of the line. She trapped him in her favorite move, a giant prison of spikes. Icor, fully transformed into his silvery slime body, tried his best to escape the multitude of spikes of various sizes hemming him in, his liquid form easily slipping through the numerous gaps. But he couldn't completely get away because she had caught his brain, the main weakness of his power. Myra sneered behind her spiky helmet. Dario was right. She recalled the tips he gave her after their third encounter with Icor. He realized that even though Icor could transform his body into viscous liquid, his brain, or maybe even his entire skull, retained its form. Dario observed how Icor moved his brain inside his slime body to keep it safe, and told Myra how to catch it the next time they met. That guy's really good at fighting, she thought. Unfortunately, they might end up going up against him someday. Icor was panicking, flicking back and forth between his solid and liquid forms. His minions tried to free him, emptying their clips at Myra. They even chucked a couple of grenades at her, which she deflected with a wall of spikes. After all the times they fought, these idiots still couldn't remember that most conventional weapons couldn't pierce her armor. But one of them, being a party pooper, brought out a stun pulsar. Myra flung spikes at them. She hit most of the grunts, but the guy with the stun pulsar managed to remain standing, taking an aim at her. Fortunately, Johann was there to the rescue, dropping the threat with his excellent marksmanship. Thanks, Johann, she said. Icor tried to pierce her, again, forming tentacles and hardening their tips. All of them bounced off her thick armor, again. Next, he tried to find cracks in her armor to get to her body, slime creeping up on her. But she simply shed a layer of her armor to disperse the liquid coating her before it could reach her eye holes. She hated fighting him because of stuff like this. Anytime now, Everett. He poked his head from behind a smoldering car and yelled back, "Call me MC. We're going to kill them all, there's no need for codenames, whoa." Myra felt the extreme heat penetrating through the cage of spikes and even her armor. Damn, that's hot as hell. She breathed a sigh of relief that Everett had recovered enough to use his powers again. He looked pretty pooped after blowing up the thick vine wall earlier. Sensing his impending doom, Icor gathered his entire slime body and compressed it, forming an extremely dense and hard casing around his brain. But it doesn't matter. It wasn't going to protect him because the heat wasn't coming from the outside. It was going to radiate from a point Everett focused on. And that point was going to be somewhere inside his brain. Everett always had trouble concentrating energy in a specific area he couldn't see, more so if it was a tiny spot. He preferred just heating up whatever was in front of him. But he had plenty of practice with Myra's spike cage, especially targeting the center of it, which was where she held Icor's brain. "That's what I'm talking about," she hooted as the spikes below her blackened and cracked from the heat. She was madly sweating inside her own armor. "Enjoy getting your brain boiled, you slimy bastard." The rest of the surviving grunts fled back into the building after seeing their boss turn to ash. "That's enough, MC," Johann said. He jumped out the smashed window of a small store across the street and sprinted over to Everett to check his condition. Giddy from killing an Adumbri, Myra did a backflip as she descended from the massive burning spike cage. "Nice shooting, Johann." He was a technician at the Adumbri Investigations Unit, not a cop, but his practice with his cop buddies paid off. "And we have another kill, Everett." Hoorah! He didn't look like he shared her celebratory mood, all wobbly on his feet. Did you overdo it?" He took off his black ski mask. His lips were sickly pale, his cheeks sunken. With a trembling hand, he wiped blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. I'm fine." He tipped to the left. "Everett." Johann caught him as he was about to fall. "You pushed yourself too much. Here, drink this." He handed him a can of energy drink. "Thanks. I also have some food here I got from the store. I know you didn't have a chance to eat a lot before rushing here. Are you okay?" Myra said. Everett snorted, "Got or stole." "If he can make snide comments, then he's okay," Johann said. "I didn't intentionally steal those, by the way." He adjusted his own mask. "I may look like a robber, but I wanted to pay. Although, if I left money, it would be easy to trace me." "Nice excuse." Chomping down on 3 granola bars at a time, Everett ate as if he had been starved for weeks, which probably was the state of his body after using large amounts of his power. "Thanks for doing this," Myra said. "I know you want to go to Dean first. You make it sound like I want to just forget about Erend because of Dean." "No. Come on, man, I didn't mean that. Just kidding. She'll be angry with me if I didn't help her best friend. We'd have no way of busting through that weird wall if you weren't here." "This grenade I got from Dario's weapons stash won't be much help," mumbled Johann. "I don't think I've heard you mention someone with this power. Some fart hiding away in the Red Island that decided to show his ugly face only now." Myra said with a shrug. "Thanks for the food, Johann." Everett held up the crumpled wrappers of the food he gobbled, burning them all to nothingness. "You must get going now. That wall might close up. I'll be off to find Dean." "Take care," Johann said. "The police will be coming here soon, you might run into them." "I don't think the illusion covering the building masked the sounds of our fight." "Yep," Myra said. I bet someone already reported the explosions. You guys move quickly too before the bid arrives. Don't be bogged down fighting. Get errand and get out. Myra. I know. She held out her fist. Johann and Everett bumped it with theirs. See you later. Don't die. You too. And they went their separate ways, Everett to a stolen car. Their actual team car was at the bottom of the ocean, Myra and Johann to the opening on the wall of vines. Johann checked his gun and changed his clip. I have plenty of bullets left, 2 magni-field mines, 2 flashbangs, 1 heat grenade. Wasted a lot of the magnis catching ichor. Just make those count. Myra increased the size of her armor, it almost felt like she was piloting one of the larger Comexo models. Stay behind me, she said as dove through the hole, into the building. Violently. Very violently. She zoned out as she started killing. She blocked out their dying screams, the final words that came out of their mouths. They deserve it, she told herself. They all deserve it. The guy charging at her with a heavy stun rod. Sliced to pieces. Hiding under a pickup truck. Flattened along with the truck. Reloading behind the cover of a large canister. Skewered through the canister. The 2 running away from her down the row of cars. Hit by spikes that exploded into smaller spikes inside their bodies. She usually didn't shoot spikes because it was less material for her armor. She preferred saving the bark she produced, especially after making something as large as the cage of spikes outside. But now she decided she didn't care. None of these pieces of shit were getting out of here alive. She used to hesitate killing them. Adumbri were Adumbri, but these were humans. These hired goons might have their own reasons for working for the 2MS, just like she had her own reasons for discarding her humanity and accepting highly illegal powers. She could argue all she wanted that she was a good guy, that she was fighting for the right side, but that wouldn't matter in the eyes of the bid if she was ever caught. All of her compassion and empathy fizzled out when Kelsey disappeared. These people might not even be responsible for whatever happened to her sister if Johann's suspicions were correct. But Myra didn't care anymore. She just wanted to kill to forget that she was nowhere closer to finding Kelsey. A rocket to her chest blasted her to the side of a van, but she stood back up as if it was nothing. She hurled the crumpled van at the large cargo truck used by the 2MS men. Green liquid spilled out as the truck toppled to its side. The last thing she expected emerged out of it. "What's all of this?" she whispered. Monstrous creatures crawled out of the wreckage and attacked the minions of the 2MS. A few of them saw her. They leapt at her, scratching her, trying to open her armor to no avail. Blades burst out of her armor, slicing the annoying gremlins before they even realized their heads were detached from their bodies. She stopped to observe just how weird everything was. Complicated boxy machines were set up throughout the parking area. Enormous canisters filled with green liquid being loaded onto trucks. And what were those creatures floating inside the canisters? Experiments? Mutants? Where did the 2MS get them? From this building? Were those residents of this building? What the hell? She thought they only wanted to kidnap Erend and hold her hostage to trap their group when they came to rescue her. But they seemed to have huge operation going on here. She hoped Erend wasn't turned into one of these monsters. The elevator. Johann said as he ran towards her. They're trying to escape. A small group of armed men congregated in front of the elevator door, waiting for it to come down. When they saw Myra leaping over the rows of cars to get to them, they panicked and fled in every direction. "I'm not letting any of you go." She threw spikes to jam the door to the stairwell. Déjà vu. Wham! A car slammed into her. Déjà vu indeed. "Shut up," she screamed, madly tearing the car apart to stop its piercing alarm. "Here's some more," someone said. A couple more cars came flying towards her. She punched them away. You caught M. Good for ya. That voice with an annoyingly jovial tone. Slinky. Is that you? Show yourself. A man wearing a trench coat jumped on the hood of the car to her left. What's up, tree twerp? I can't have you destroying all of these. His entire body was covered by bandages, even his head. The strips of cloth wrapped around his arms unraveled, revealing hands covered in scales. His forearm muscles bulged like an inflated balloon, his hands turning into scaly wrecking balls. I'm going to kill you, you lizard freak. Freak. That's rich coming from ya. She gathered bark around her fists and slammed it down on Slinky. He jumped out of the way and countered with a left hook using his massive fist. So that's what you want. Myra buried spikes from the soles of her feet into the ground, anchoring her in place. She received the flurry of punches from Slinky without giving up an inch. Out of the corner of her eye, through the small opening of her helmet, she spotted Johann somewhere behind Slinky signing something. No need to worry, Johann. She wasn't going to get tricked by Slinky again. She traded a few blows with the lizard idiot to keep him entertained while Johann prepared their trap. After seeing her teammate give her a thumbs up, she grinned. Dozens of spikes erupted from her armor. But that didn't deter Slinky. He was more than 10 feet tall, and still continuing to grow. No doubt seeing it as a challenge, he punched even harder. His blows broke most of the spikes, but some of them buried into his flesh. Those ones birthed more spikes, spreading themselves inside his hands and arms. With Slinky locked with her, Myra easily grabbed him. More spikes shot out of her chest and held him in place. Laughing out loud, she tackled him like a deranged quarterback, pushing him to where Johann signaled earlier. What are you doing? Slinky said. His voice became earthier as he changed more and more into a towering humanoid lizard monster. Tree twerp. You know that I'm stronger than ya. See you later, idiot. Myra cracked a hole on the back of her armor and exited through it. Wah. Where you going? Erg. Tongues of electricity licked Slinky's body as if he was a plasma ball display at a science fair. Johann had activated the magni-field mine. To the elevator, he said. Let's not waste time. Got it. Here. He tossed her something. A mask. You're always so dependable, Myra said, donning on the black mask matching his. Of course. That's why Blank wanted me on the team even though I'd never accept a core. The elevator car has already arrived, its doors wide open inviting them in. Wadash. Why are there dead people here? Myra accidentally stepped on one of them. The disgusting smell of burnt flesh went up her nose, almost making her puke. Maybe someone else got here before us? Johann said. He pressed the button for Aaron's floor. A roar reverberated throughout the enclosed parking area. Oh, Myra said. He's coming. I still don't have armor. Don't worry. He won't reach us. Slinky stomped towards the elevator, but Johann triggered their last magni-field mine, locking him in place. Eat this. Johann pulled the pin out of an hand grenade and threw it in Slinky's direction just before the elevator doors closed. There was a rumble after a few seconds, but they were already on their way up. Geez, man. What's going on here? Myra said. Beats me, Johann said. He kicked the bodies to check if they were alive. Bullet wounds. But the police aren't here yet. Who were these guys fighting? Whatever's happening here, it wasn't what we expected. She slowly rebuilt her armor, excreting the bark-like substance through her skin, hardening it layer per layer. This isn't a simple rescue mission anymore. This better be worth it, Johann. I already told you it's just a guess, he snapped. I know. And you're the one who insisted we do this. Yes, I did. I'm just grasping at straws, at anything to find Kelsey. And that thing you told me about Dario. What I suspected about him, he clarified. Myra nodded. I really hope Erend is the way to finding Red Hood. I'm sure of it. You first met the woman with that monster mouth wearing a red hood when you were. Johann didn't complete his sentence. In a parking area, Myra muttered. Red Hood was also there at Eve last Saturday night based on witness statements I dug up from confidential bid files. The night Erend lost control of herself again and turned into a giant werewolf. Just like at the docks. There was a ton of security protecting those files, but from what I was able to gather, the bid did encounter the same creature we met at the docks. Red Hood was probably there at the docks too, Myra said more to herself. We just didn't see her. They already discussed this before they called Everett to help them bust in this place. But they didn't tell him about it, obviously. And most recently, the incident at Serenade, Johann said, referring to a security camera of a store a few blocks away from the bazaar that caught a glimpse of Erend. Although, I'm not sure about that one. Lucky the bid deputized the city's AIU to help them investigate all of this, Myra said. Otherwise, you wouldn't have access. What was that? The elevator lurched to a halt. They looked at each other. The elevator car careened downwards. Myra turned her armor into thick lances, piercing through the car's walls, burying into the sides of the elevator shaft. Some of them broke from the weight of the car, but most of them were able to stop the fall. They cut the cables. Or slinkies pulling us down. Out, out, she said, forcing the door open with her immense strength, before they do something else. The elevator car wasn't exactly lined up with the door of the floor, about only a fourth of the way, so they had to crawl to fit through the small gap. Johann held her hand and pulled her out even if he didn't need to. She appreciated the gesture. Damn, this is getting insane, he said, sitting on the floor. Even I'm hoping that this is worth it. This is going to be shit if after all of this Red Hood turns us down, or if she won't even show up. She'll show up for sure. She wants to stop Erend going berserk in her giant werewolf form. Maybe this will be the time she'll finally recruit her, forcefully. But will she help us? I don't know. Well, what's the next plan? Myra said. It looks like Erend hasn't gone out of control yet, so we have that going for us. She felt a pang of guilt thinking about it. Red Hood was the one trying to turn Erend into an Adumbri. Why else was she there at Sanders Mall? But Myra couldn't shake the feeling that she herself was the reason Erend finally became an Adumbri, the one that pushed her over the edge by nearly killing her. And now, Erend turned into a giant werewolf whenever she couldn't control her power. Damn it! How was she going to apologize when they met again? If only she hadn't misunderstood Kelsey's note in her locker. It probably referred to Dario rather than Erend. Next plan? Johann said. I'm not sure if Erend is still in her room after all of this. He snapped his fingers. The security room. We could check there. I've downloaded this building's blueprints. Is the floor shaking? We just can't catch a break, Myra said, pulling Johann up. Let's run. 2:49 a.m., Wednesday, February 5, 2020. No more shaking. I stepped on the bullet-ridden head of a rotting ghoulish child and fished my severed arm out of its gaping mouth. Everything had quieted down, but I still raised my gun at the unhinged double doors of the spacious conference room we fled in. I guess no more monsters too. How are you guys doing? Paolo huffed and puffed as he waded through piles of monster body parts around him. He had planted himself by the door and bore the brunt of the wave of monsters that chased us after the building started shaking. I checked the color of the corpses to make sure they were all dead. They didn't seem to be specifically going for us. More like they were spooked by the quakes and stampeded, and then ran into us. I saw a few of them even eating each other. I'm fine, he said, noticing my gaze. How many times had he said that to me already? He was heavily bleeding after tearing through the monstrous horde. Definitely wasn't fine. Mommy. Lizzie emerged from under the table. Are you okay? Yes, Mommy's okay, sweetie, Doms replied as she shoved the lifeless beast with weird fangs off her shoulder. My armor protected me. The thickly furred monster fell on its back, revealing its gutted chest and stomach, courtesy of her bony blades. In a stern voice, she said, Lizzie, look away. Her daughter complied and ran to Julie, hugging her arm and pressing her face against her side so she wouldn't see anything. Ow! Careful, Lizzie. My shoulder hurts. Sorry. Paolo went near his sister, making grunts and whines of concern that didn't need any translating. It's nothing, Pao, she said. Don't worry. Just the recoil of the gun on my shoulder. Props to her for knowing how to shoot with a rifle. How about you? You're covered in blood. Is that your blood? Paolo forcefully snorted and shook his head, returning back to his post by the door. Humph, whatever then. Everyone was super stressed with everything going on, especially Doms and Paolo. They were so stressed their thoughts began to bleed into mine. I doubled my efforts to keep my own mind in check while making sure they wouldn't notice each other's minds. I did briefly peek on what they were thinking, careful that if I prodded too much, they might pick up my own thoughts. Paolo's was mostly on killing the monsters and the Adumbri who turned this place into a hellhole. But I could tell he was only focusing on that to distract himself from the pain of his injuries. Was he afraid I was going to force him out of his gorilla transformation that he loved so much? Idiot kid. Dom's thoughts were a bit more concerning. Mistrust was brewing. The scene of our earlier misunderstanding as well as the words of the 2MS minion that I was from a rival organization was playing on repeat in her head. I bet she assumed I wasn't really as good of a guy as I presented myself to be, which was true, and that I'd sacrifice them or something when I got the chance, which was also true. Whatever. First things first. Seems like everyone is fine, I loudly said to get their attention. Everyone except Paolo. What? Julie said. He really is badly hurt. Don't try to hide it, Pao. I said I'm fine. I'm not going to get rid of this transformation. Even though Julie could only hear grunts, she understood her brother was being stubborn. Miss Pino, you have to do something about it. Relax, Paolo, I said. I'm not going to force you out of that transformation. But I can heal you. Yes. Please heal my brother. Dom said, do you need to, dispel, or what should I call it? Remove my armor, so you can concentrate your powers healing him? Paolo growled. Pino, tell them I'm fine. It's dangerous if Doms doesn't wear. Hey. I said relax. I also blasted my words into his head. Doms, you don't need to take your armor off. But I do suggest you sit on the floor in a comfortable position because, when I focus on healing Paolo, you'll feel very weak. Well, not really weak. You mean I'll go back to my normal strength? Exactly. No way I was going to keep her connected to my strength finger without the healing finger. Us weak normal humans, she sighed. You don't want to get squished by your own armor, do you? But we could take it off too, if you want. I can manage. After changing my finger links, I pumped Paolo with healing power and it didn't have any effect. Eh. It doesn't work, I exclaimed. You can't heal my brother. It's not working. What's wrong? My hunch is that it's a limitation of the manifestation of the power I gave him, I said, thinking on my feet to come up with a plausible explanation. Like Doms can make her bone armor using her own energy. Which is, obviously, not advisable. It feels awful, Doms said. But we found out she can use corpses. As for Paolo, it seems he can copy corpses, but I can't do anything to the copied body, like heal it. Why is it like that? Julie asked. I know only a few Adumbri well enough to make an assessment of that, I said, but I think you're right on that one. Just talking out of my metal ass here. You mean to say this condition is my brother's fault? Julie asked. Can't really argue with that. He really is stubborn and doesn't want help from others. Paolo snorted and looked away. Anyway, we have to get moving, I said. And since I can't heal him, the alternative is turning him back to human. He can then choose a new body to copy from these ones around us. Yes, you should. Paolo shook his gorilla head animatedly and made a cross using his arms to make his sister understand his vehement opposition to the idea. I conveyed his thoughts to her. He says the bodies here are weak and not good replacements. To which, I agree. Julie struggled to keep her face neutral, trying to hide concern. What's going to happen to Pao then? He'll just fight in that form until he couldn't anymore. Correct, which I didn't say that out loud. If his situation gets worse, I said, I'll turn him back to human no matter what he says. Paolo gave us a thumbs up. See? He agrees. That's settled then. I paused to listen to him speaking in my mind. Your brother wants me to tell you that he promises that if his injuries become too severe, he'll change back with no more complaints. Pao, I'm going to trust you on this one, Julie said, so don't do anything stupid. Her brother carefully patted her head with a finger the size of her arm. How sweet, would have been the appropriate reaction. I knew that much. Right? Left with no other choice, we decided to look for the stairs and make our way down. Our best bet was indeed to fight while we still had Paolo's copied gorilla monster body, our main source of firepower. If it was just me and Doms, we'd definitely have a hard time dealing with even just a small group of the weak monsters. Paolo, I know you have a strong body, I said to him in a private message, but don't be reckless. No response from him, so I continued. It would be bad if you're forced to turn back in the middle of the fight. Yeah, I know. I'm not sure if we'll get lucky again and kill a monster as strong as that. I'd rather hope we don't meet one. I know, okay? He replied, snappiness weaving through his thoughts. Don't treat me like a kid. Big hole, Lizzie said. Another hole. Dom said. I said, that pillar thingy went through here. Big hole. Is this the power of an Adumbri? The two MS have many Adumbri in their ranks. I'm not familiar with most of them, but I'm sure this is the work of one. But why is this here? Julie said. We didn't pass this way. Dom said, perhaps we're wrong in assuming that pillar was aiming for us. While we did destroy the security camera by the freight elevator, we also didn't show up in other cameras. Whoever was watching us would conclude we were either riding it or were somewhere near its door, which was why they cut the cables of the car and tried to squish us with the pillar. That was what we had assumed. But Doms might be right in her observation that they weren't aiming for us. They're fighting other people. I wondered. The Adumbri from Vegas? You said you're different from them, right? I can get you down. Hold on, guys, I said. You were saying, Paolo. I can get you down through here. Faster to go this way. I relayed what he said to the others. I have a monster gorilla body. This should be easy. He hunched over at the edge of the hole and bent down. We can just look below if the coast is clear. Holy shit. He stood back up and rushed to us. Run. 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 Well, what's happening? Julie said. He said to run. A guttural rumbling vibrated through the floor. The building started shaking again. Was it the pillar? Were they aiming for us? From below. It's going to see us. Paolo shoved all of us, including the cart with my human body, inside an office at the left side of the hallway. We don't have time. Hide. Then he smashed his way into another office unit and hid inside. Doms picked up Lizzie and tucked themselves behind a cabinet. Julie tried to pull my human body to the side but found it too heavy and left it in the middle of the room while she scrambled under the table. Stupid useless kid. I desperately pulled my body to the wall, nearly popping my shoulder joints. Julie peeked from under the table and whispered an apology to me. She hugged her gun and the weird box we looted from the two men. I stayed near the entrance of the room with a potted plant covering me and the cart to my back. Paolo. What's happening? I saw something below. A really big one. A monster. How big could it be? I thought he'd get excited if we found a possible replacement for his gorilla monster form. Was this one a bit too big? Judging from the quakes it caused and the sounds of destruction that filtered through the hole, this might be something we couldn't handle. I focused on the open door of the room. Just a normal glass door most modernish offices used, but it was angled in such a way I could pick off a faint reflection of the corridor outside off its otherwise transparent surface. A creature emerged out of the hole. I couldn't see its form clearly, the glass door a bit blurry, but it was obvious it wasn't as big as Paolo made it out to be. Perhaps as tall as an average NBA player but twice as muscular. Paolo's form was bigger than it. A colossal charred hand grabbed the lower body of the tall creature which was trying to escape out of the hole. A hand large enough to make the monster it captured look like an ice cream popsicle in comparison. A flaming popsicle. The first monster cried out mournfully as it slowly burned in the giant's grasp. Is it there? Paolo asked. Yes. Damn, we can't fight that. Is it coming up? To answer Paolo's question, the giant monster's head peered out of the hole. Its glowing eyes, smoldering charcoals, clearly shone on the glass door, washing out the rest of its indistinct reflection. Smoke billowed out as it spoke, blanketing the corridor outside. Ramonn. Its voice wasn't what I expected. Not deep and earthy like giants in movies, but chilly and eerie like those spooky voices in shows where the main character was being reminded by their conscience or a memory. The thin walls and even my body vibrated when it spoke. Ramonn, Myboy. Ramon. Isawyou, Whereareyouyouhiding. The head sunk back down the hole, leaving the corridor smoldering. The rumbling continued. Between that stupid pillar and this giant-ass monster demolishing the building, the possibility it might collapse flitted in my mind. Don't forget the fire, I thought sardonically. I'll need to find a new place to live in and buy new stuff after all of this mess. Ramon's mind was reeling. Was that Bodhi? He was sure it was. But what happened to him? Before they parted ways, or rather before he escaped into the elevator as Bodhi chased him being ordered to do so by that Asian woman leading the Adumbri group, the friendly security guard had turned into a monster but was still his original size. Somehow, Bodhi inexplicably became a giant of a monster made of charcoal hunting for him. Is this the right choice? Ramon kicked down the door of the suite at the end of the corridor. His blade held out straight in front of him. He cautiously entered first and turned on the lights. A moderately sized room with only a few basic pieces of furniture, this looked like it wasn't occupied yet. Before he could make sure there was no danger, everyone rushed in, a couple of people even jostling him, fearful the giant or some other monster would catch them outside. It was a relief they were no longer afraid of him. For the most part. But it was apparent in their expressions they were still disgusted by the smell of his blood. Some did hide it better than others. He couldn't blame them. Each time they entered a new location, he checked how many they were. 1. Cassandra, 2. Vince, 3. His son. He stopped counting and turned around. He no longer wanted to be reminded of how many of them were left after everything they went through, how many died, how many he couldn't protect. Instead, he plopped down at the corner of the room, away from all the others, sitting beside the sofa, not on it, using the armrest to partially cover him. Only then did he feel a bit of chill because of his damp clothes. At least the emergency sprinklers and the fire alarm were turned off. His head down, he blankly stared at the floor. How did it get to this? It was all going so well. As well as being turned into a monster and trying to get to the top of a building full of monsters could be. He gave his all protecting Cassandra and the injured Rowley as they climbed up, wielding his newly acquired strength and powers like he had been using them for a long time. He cleared each flight of stairs, landing per landing, hacking to pieces the monsters in their way. They even met the McKinnon couple running down the stairs, who were suspicious of him but grateful for the help he offered. It gave him joy and comfort he was doing something good even though his situation was dire and hopeless. Deep inside, he knew there was no way for him to get his human body back. He took out his anger and despair at the monsters blocking them. Upon reaching the 22nd floor, he got conflicted if he should look for Erend. Would she be afraid of him? Was she even still alive? But even though he did make up his mind to find her, he missed one tiny detail: he didn't know her room number. He lost his phone, and he wasn't even sure if it had the details of her room in his record of deliveries for the day. He tried to look for her but was unsuccessful. He did find other survivors, and he would find more in their journey to the top of the building. He couldn't stay on the 22nd floor for long. In between convincing the new people they met to come with them, and trying to stupidly check each and every room, he wasted a lot of time. Rowley's health was deteriorating and he needed medical attention fast. Ramon had no choice but to abandon his search of Erend and pray she escaped safely. Each time he saved more people, who would then join their group, he extensively asked them about Erend. But he'd always end up getting the same answer. They didn't know her. That's enough, Greg. Ayani pushed her boyfriend back. You're only making things worse. Just like when you shot that monster by the stairs and missed. Cassandra retorted. Good job on that one, Greg, she said, her voice laced with sarcasm. I don't want to hear that from you. Don't beat yourself up. Don't make me repeat myself. You're not some superhero. Some of us got killed by those terrorists. The McKinnons, the lady employee. And all of us would be dead by now if we hadn't met you. How about Ramon? Cassandra said, pointing at him. What is it this time? Ramon sat straight up. He didn't know what they were discussing, but he understood they were including him in their arguments. He wasn't surprised it was Cassandra again. Maybe I shouldn't have saved you, he thought. What about him? Samantha said, her hands on her hips. You whore, Samantha's grandfather said in a raspy voice as pointed a gnarled finger at Cassandra. What you did to Rowley, you're a danger to us. Take a sit, Grandpa. She led him to the side. She's never going to admit that. I'm the dangerous one. Cassandra said. That giant was looking for him. It said, Ramon. Everyone else heard that. Don't lie. Gregory stomped forward, breaking free of his girlfriend's embrace. You're gonna say he's luring us to the monsters again? Ramon closed his eyes to calm himself down. Cassandra and some of the survivors had accused him of leading them to their deaths. It wasn't good that those on Cassandra's camp died along the way, giving a semblance of truth to what she was saying even though it wasn't the case. This is different, she argued. He's a good guy. Sure, whatever. But now we see the monsters are after him. We're in danger if we stick with him. Benitez jumped to his feet and put himself in front of the sitting Ramon. Lady, the door is behind you. I'm just thinking for the good of everyone. If you stay in this group, then we stick with each other. But no one's stopping you from leaving. And where do I go? Up? To get massacred like the others? Down. That might be just what he wants. She pointed to her feet. I have a broken ankle and have a hard time running. So you're telling me to go out and die? I'm not, Ramon began to say. What do you want to happen then? Samantha asked. Do you want Ramon to leave us? He's not exactly helpful, is he? Cassandra shot back. He couldn't even destroy those fricking vines covering the building. Oh, this shit again, Benitez groaned. Ramon was so tired of defending himself, so tired of all these arguments. He leaned against the sofa's side and focused on figuring out a way to escape. These people with him, he was still going to try and save them whether they wanted him to or not. Is that gunfire? Vince said, holding his son close to him. Cassandra said, almost shrieking, we wouldn't have this problem of going up or down if he can just cut away the vines and we'll have signal to call for help. Greg, just shut up, Ayana, that's enough from you too, Cassandra. You're all ganging up on me. It is gunfire. Quiet down. Benitez said. All of you. It was faint, but Vince was right. There were guns shooting. They also heard the sounds of monsters. Ramon stood up, his blade at the ready. Someone is fighting out there, he said. The building wasn't shaking so Bodhi wasn't nearby. Who could it be? Could it be the bid? Samantha said. The terrorists we met upstairs weren't getting attacked by monsters, so it couldn't be them. I think you're right, Ramon said. He also remembered that Bodhi didn't attack Stella and her group. If someone was shooting and fighting the monsters, it wouldn't be them. Did help finally arrive? What did it mean for him? Let's go then. Cassandra said. Ramon, you lead us. Now, you're asking for his help. We're going out, Ramon said. Follow me. He was about to exit when Vince caught up to him. What is it? Ramon, if this is the bid, said Vince, you run away, okay? It'll be enough you got us near the authorities. But you should run before they capture you or kill you. I know, he replied, although it pained him to say that. Vince thrusted a small card to him. It was a business card. What is this? The sounds are getting further away, Cassandra said. Let's get going, Ramon. When you escape from this place, Vince said, call me on this number. I'll help you any way I can as thanks for keeping me and my son alive. Thank you, Ramon hastily said. He turned away and jogged down the corridor. He felt the tears forming. His voice was about to crack if he continued speaking. He shook his head to regain composure. I'm getting these people to safety. They followed the sounds of fighting, passing by several monster corpses, each one increasing the hope of the group that help was finally here. Through that door. Cassandra said. The sign above told them it was a restaurant. Its glass doors were shattered. A couple of dead monsters laid on top of the broken glass. Ramon, go check it. No, not him, Vince said. Ramon, you wait here, Benitez said. I'll check it out, not you. If it's really them bid boys, we don't want you getting your ass shot now, do we? Maybe that's what Cassandra wants, Gregory muttered. They waited with bated breath as Benitez crawled to the door, keeping his head low, ignoring the blood and gore on the floor. His leather jacket protected him from the broken glass. He peeked inside. Is it the bid? Samantha asked. No, not them. Ramon, get your ass here. It's other survivors. He immediately went into action, leaping over Benitez and turning left, entering the restaurant. The tables and chairs were in disarray, most of them broken. Littered among the wreckage were more monster corpses. At the end of the restaurant were 3 people. 2 girls, a high schooler with a gun and a small kid. A guy several feet to their side, heavily injured given the tons of blood covering him, struggled to crawl towards them. A peculiar monster that took the form of a metallic humanoid was approaching him, perhaps waiting to pounce and finish him off. Ramon calculated he could take on the smaller monsters here, but the one covered in an armor of bone might give him a hard time. These 3 people, no more deaths. Wait, 4 people. There was another person behind them, lying on the floor. An unconscious woman partially covered by a white cloth. When the kid moved out of the way to reveal the face of that person, time crawled to a snail's pace for Ramon. All of his attention was focused on the woman. He recognized her. That face. There was no way he'd mistake her for anyone else. The face of an angel. Erend Hartwell. Erend. Ramon roared and charged into battle. 3:06 a.m., Wednesday, February 5, 2020. Paolo. Can't you see I'm a little busy here? I said after feeling a garbled jolt from our mental link. What is it? I repeatedly punched the eye of the barf-colored goblin gnawing my other arm. I recalled an advice to hit a shark in the eye if it bit you, but I wasn't having much success using that trick on these monsters. I couldn't shake this little bugger off even if its eyes were already bleeding. Kekekek, came the annoying cackle from others of these tiny shits. One yanked my gun away. It was out of bullets anyway and clobbered me with it. A couple more pipsqueaks pulled on my legs, bringing me down. Kekekek. These ugly gremlins came from only one monster, a chunky abomination that could be a mascot for all diseases ever. It was lounging by the wine bar of the restaurant, literally birthing these goblins. Not a sight for the faint of heart. What is it? I mentally asked Paolo. He might have not heard me the first time over the din of battle. Pino, I can't, too painful. There. 4 tables down from the stage at the end of the restaurant where the girls and my body were. Paolo held up 2 of the circular tables as if they were shields. Spikes as thick as my arm punched through the tables and skewered his body. He couldn't move and evade, or else the spikes would hit Julie and Lizzie, and my body too. This scene irked me, reminding me of Myra trying to kill me in the past. Paolo staggered backwards and fell down, letting go of the tables. It's going to shoot again, I said, spotting the willowy zombie with fleshy tendrils for hairs that was attacking him. He was too weak to respond. His mind barely there. Julie didn't notice what was happening, still busy shooting at other monsters. It would be too late if I called out to her. She didn't have time to move my body away. No choice. Get up. I squeezed my consciousness into his brain. Up. 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 The tall zombie shrieked. Several of its tendrils hardened and, with a wild whip of its head, the spikes soared across the air. Protect my human body. Paolo complied, jumping on his feet even as black blood pooled beneath him. He extended his massive arms to the sides, making himself as wide as possible. What's happening? Doms asked, my frantic thoughts probably spilled over my links with her. The tendril zombie released another volley right before Paolo reached it. He smashed the corpses he used as shields down on the monster. He caught the tentacles and tore them off its scalp, and finished it by squeezing its head. Almost spent, his green hue dimming, nearly turning to the gray of the monster he just killed, he dropped on his knees. Paolo. Dom said. He's severely injured. Nice observation, Doms, I thought sarcastically. He wasn't going to last long if I didn't do anything. I willed him to go to Julie, crawl if he had to. I concentrated on siphoning my powers back, hoping it would reverse his transformation and he could return to his healthy human body before he died. Please work. Given my experience with the fingers so far, I wouldn't put it past my copy power to have some stupid consequence that the user couldn't return to his original form or some shit. Kekekek kekekek. On it. Is Paolo going to be okay? He's already turning back to human. I played whack-a-mole with the heads of the goblins, smashing their skulls with the gun's butt. They ran back to their mother, or whatever I should call that vomit-inducing monster. Let's assess the situation. Were we winning? Only a few monsters remained. Doms and I could finish this. A blood-curdling scream. Shrieks of terror from Julie and Lizzie followed. Paolo had returned to his human form, but he was writhing on the floor covered in blood. Red blood, not black. His own human blood. Screams of pain drowned out the annoying screeches of the goblins, the growls and roars of the other monsters. Then Paolo fell silent, his mouth remaining open. Trapped in mid-scream, he continued crawling to Julie, his barely conscious mind following my last order to go towards her. Miss Pino. Help. Paolo is. I see him. Stay there, Julie. I was going and protect my body, but that sounded like a selfish thing to say. You're going to heal him? Dom said. Yes. You're still fighting. I can continue. No. You won't be able to move. I know. I'll grab some of these monsters and draw them to me. Just don't remove my armor. Got it. Mommy. Lizzie said, concerned for Dom's wrestling the monsters. She hugged as many of the remaining monsters as she could before I stopped giving her super strength, using the weight of the armor to keep them all in place. The armor should protect her. Attracted by the commotion, the goblins also joined in and actually attacked the other monsters on Dom's. Nice. I disconnected my healing finger and pointed at Paolo while I weaved through the tables. Heal. Just enough so he wouldn't die. Don't forget, healing had consequences too, I reminded myself. I didn't want to end up killing him, this was a different situation from his dad's. I doubted if Julie would take it kindly if I let her brother die. Plus, I'd prefer to keep using Paolo than forcing his sister to be his replacement. I'm healing him. Don't worry. Thank you, Miss Pino. Please save him. Where's the electro gun thingy? Here. She pointed behind the podium on the stage. But I don't know how to use it. I didn't either. Shit. It would have been awesome if we shot Doms along with all the monsters with it. Just see what you can manage. Wait. Wouldn't Doms get hurt by that too? Uncaringness turning to inattentiveness again. TCH. Someone else screamed. It sounded like a drunk guy starting a fight at the club. A condominium resident who was still human. No. A new monster entered the restaurant. Humanoid. Insect-like plates covered the left half of his body. His left arm was a huge-ass blade that glowed purple, the air shimmered around it like it was pavement baked under the hot California summer sun. This looks like trouble, Dom said. I can barely hold these ones. A bit more, I said. Touching Paolo's chest, I felt he was still breathing. Barely. Just a bit more time. Should I just let him die and concentrate my powers on Dom's? Cut my losses here and focus on what I could save. Purple Blade Guy quickly got past the goblin family, leaving behind their chopped up body parts. He charged and threw himself at Dom's, crashing into her and all the monsters with her. For a second, it became a confusing ball of monsters tearing up each other, like those wacky cartoons fighting inside a smoky ball. But the Blade Guy got the upper hand and sliced every one of them with blazing speed, kicking up a fountain of black blood and ground up monster meat. But he couldn't slice through Dom's armor. Sparks erupted each time his blade hit Dom's. Die. I'll kill all of you. What the hell? He's so strong. You okay, Dom's? Did that monster just speak? Don't hit mommy. Lizzie tried to throw a microphone she found, but Julie stopped her. Behind me, Lizzie. Julie fired, but her gun came up empty after a few rounds. Go away, you monster. Purple Blade Guy was unaffected by the bullets, but he did stop. Wait. I'm here to save you. Excuse me. He did talk. We met other monsters that could speak, like the charcoal giant, but nothing as coherent as this. An Adumbri? But he had torn clothes as if he transformed like the other people in this building. Don't move, Doms. I pressed down on Paolo's wounds, making him cry out. You. Purple Guy turned his attention to me. Don't touch him. Interesting, I mused as he ran to me. He wanted to save them. My mind raced, analyzing the situation. A wide slash sent me flying. Perhaps sensing that his attack did nothing, he followed me as I tumbled through tables and chairs. Again and again came his blade. Wood shattered and blackened from the heat. Dark fumes came out the vents lining the back of his bladed arm. My body vibrated all throughout each time blade met armor. He couldn't cut through my body. But, with the force of his blows, I got disassembled. My body parts scattered, I stopped moving. Finally, he said. He rushed over to Paolo. Are you okay, Woe? Julie was by her brother's side. Go away, you monster. She held the electroshock weapon and threateningly waved it at him. It was powered up, but I wasn't sure if she completely figured out how to use it. Miss Pino. Are you okay? Continue healing my brother. I know this looks bad that I look like this, said the purple guy in a gentle voice. But I'm not an enemy. What are you talking about? Julie craned her neck. Miss Pino. Calm down, purple guy said. He gave a quick explanation of what he was. Some guy who was turned into a monster by the Adumbri he met the goons of the 2MS, by the sound of it. And, somehow, he retained his consciousness. He'd been using his powers to help survivors. You have nothing to worry about. We can help you. Shut up. Was Julie's reply. Is he telling the truth? Dom said. I don't know. I honestly had no idea what to make of this. I pretended to lose, not that I could win against him if I wanted to, so I could hear what he had to say. The story that he was a random pizza delivery guy that got roped into this disaster sounded plausible. His clothes did look like the uniform of that pizza place I liked. But most importantly, this confirmed he wasn't a Corbring. I would breathe a sigh of relief if I could. Corbrings wouldn't bother with this shit if they were rescuing us. I was already entering mini-crisis mode when I thought Corbrings were here. Trepanner did warn me it wasn't a good idea for me to meet other Corbrings. This situation was so much easier. Remove my armor, Dom said. Just leave me with my bladed gauntlets. You're going to fight him? No, I think he's telling the truth. I want to talk to him. Just leave me with a weapon. This was a problem if Doms was starting to think that way. I couldn't have this. He'll notice if you change. It might provoke him. Let's wait first before making a move. But I'm still healing Paolo. Miss Pino. Who are you calling for? Purple guy said. Your friend. Where? I can save them. Miss Pino, I know you're not dead. Please. What do you mean not dead? Purple guy turned around, following her gaze. Put yourself back together and heal my Paolo. Those words, it finally clicked in purple guy's head. I could see in his demonic eyes staring straight at my own. I had to act now and bring him down. I rapid-fired my plan at Dom's. My hands were already near purple guy's feet, having crawled on the floor while he told his story to Julie. I shot him with a finger and grabbed his ankles. Holding on tight, I thought, pull. Reform. What the? He exclaimed, seeing my various body parts zipping towards him. Doms, go. I stopped giving her armor power. No, you don't, purple guy said. He stabbed his blade down, anticipating where my body was going to be. Stop. He exclaimed, surprised by my thoughts entering his mind. I can't. I assembled my body and held on to him. Don't move. His muscles trembled as two inputs fought over his body. Get out of my head. He said. Don't move. I concentrated my entire mind to hold him. I even stopped healing Paolo. Adumbri? You're an Adumbri. I'm not giving you my body. Doms. This is my body. He was able to take control of his lengthy bladed arm. But he couldn't easily stab me because I was tightly hugging him. Now would be a good time. KKZZRRTTT. ZZZZT. Electricity coursed through us. His body convulsed from the shock. But it didn't affect me. I continued hugging him as his muscles seized up and he fell down. No. No, he screamed as he kept on fighting my mind control. Amazing resilience. I can't lose here. Erend. He sent me a bunch of jumbled thoughts just as, like a light bulb getting switched off, his mind went dark. We're good. He's out. I hurriedly disentangled myself from him. Anything longer and it would have been weird. Especially after what I learned just before he passed out. I followed your instructions, Dom said. Good work. But is he a bad guy? Julie jumped in front of Dom's, her eyes red from tears. Miss Pino, is Paolo going to be okay? Yes, your brother's going to fine. I'm healing him. He's not bleeding now. Thank you. As I was saying, Dom's interjected, is he a bad guy? No. Doesn't seem so. So why did we do this? We could just introduce ourselves to him. It's going to be hard to explain our situation to him. It's going to be harder now that we knocked him out. Doms was right, of course. But I didn't want to team up with this guy in the first place. This was just asking to get betrayed. If I was in their shoes, I'd go with this guy instead of going with me. For one, they knew the Adumbri wanted Erend and they were in danger if they stayed with me. The protection I offered this guy could offer it as well. I really wanted to kill him and have Paolo copy him or something. But after understanding who he was, I changed my mind. Perhaps this guy would become my greatest ally. At last. The world gave me an advantage instead of all the shit I've been running into tonight. A very unexpected advantage. Don't worry, he'll come too, I said. I wanted all of you guys together to explain. Bam. Everyone except me crouched down. What was this now? A couple of guys stood by the entrance of the restaurant. The biker-looking man with a shotgun had just fired it at the ceiling. We don't know what's going on here, he said, but we can't have you killing Ramon. I must say, I said as I sat cross-legged on the wooden floor of the stage, I'm surprised you guys jumped in to save Ramon. Yeah, that's his name, right? Ramon, the pizza delivery guy turned monster, who, by sheer good fortune, knew and even liked me. Like as in like. My human self anyway. After a tense standoff with their group, we were able to talk it out and understand each other's situation. Doms handled the discussion pretty well. Note to self, have a cute kid like Lizzie around to look less threatening. They also had a kid in their group, Vince's son. He popped from behind his father's back and stared at me with nervous curiosity. We were gathered around Ramon's body, waiting for him to wake up. I didn't heal him, giving the perfectly valid excuse I was focused on healing Paolo because I wanted to talk with his group first. There were 7 of them, 8 including Ramon. And they said there were more of them before. However, through various unfortunate events, about half their group died along the way. I was still impressed Ramon was able to protect this many people while navigating this god-forsaken place. He saved us many times, said Benitez, the buff man with the shotgun. No-brainer move to save him now. That's true, Vince said. Ayani, his girlfriend, elbowed his side. Don't talk like that. No-brainer. Did that mean many people in life-or-death situations would still try to save others? Shouldn't their own survival be the priority? They told me Ramon mentioned he met some of the 2MS people, so they, like my group, all knew the bad guys were specifically looking for me. If we allied with this Ramon guy, everyone here would eventually abandon me and go with him because that was the best choice for survival. Like just freaking sacrifice me and my human body to the 2MS as bait, right? But maybe I was wrong. These guys wanted to try and save Ramon even after seeing us bring him down. Weird people. Or maybe they were just the exception. In any case, I still had the trump card of Ramon liking me, so I was sure he wouldn't leave me behind. That said, contrary to popular belief, my kind weren't that big on our own survival either. Sure, we probably had stronger self-preservation instincts than the average person, but we prioritize our rules over anything, even if it pushed us to reckless behavior. Very interesting realization. It's fun to learn more about how people think. Should we look for her? Samantha said. Cassandra can't have made it far. Stop calling her that. Ramon would want us to look for her. But where the hell would we look? We should do that, Benitez said. By the way, Pino, is that short for Pinocchio or something? From that children's book, I said. Because you want to be a real girl, piped up Vince's son. Tommy. Vince exclaimed. That's not, sorry for that, Pino. It's fine. We've been watching old cartoon movies made by Walt Disney, he explained. Tommy didn't mean anything bad. Mommy, can we watch cartoons too? Lizzie said. We will, said Doms, when we escape here. We'll watch with Daddy. I saw Dom's cheek muscles twitch. I said, oh yeah. Pinocchio did have a movie, but I haven't watched it. Too bad Walt Disney went bankrupt after just a few movies. Got sidetracked there. Benitez cleared his throat. Continuing what I was saying, Pino, about this young lady here, Irish. Errand. My bad. Errand here is a Corbring? Not yet, but she will be if she's brought before the Mother Corps. I suppose she got some special qualities, this or that. Benitez said. That's why this Adumbry organization, the 2MS. That's why these 2MS want her. Yes. But let's wait for Ramon to wake up before I explain more. I noticed Ramon was already stirring. I don't want to repeat myself again. The burns on the not-so-mutated side of his body caused by the high-voltage electric shocks were starting to heal. Weird. Other monsters we encountered couldn't regenerate their body, even the gorilla monster. Lots of weird things, huh? Ramon's eyes suddenly opened. Well, what's going on? He sat up and waved his blade. We all instinctively backed away. Vince? Greg? Where, then he saw me. You're still alive. Stop. Benitez stood in front of me, his hands held up. It's okay, Ramon. It's okay. They're not the enemy. What? Huh? But we're fighting. It's over now. Lower your blade, there's no threat. We're all on the same side. Same side? What do you mean? Benitez introduced us to him. He also told him about Cassandra running away. Ramon had a slightly conflicted, but almost impassive expression. He didn't seem to want to look for her, opposite what Yanni said. Then I explained the situation to him, or rather I repeated the lies I told to Doms, Paolo, and Julie. That I was a good Adumbry kinda. That I was using my powers on Doms and Paolo. That Errand was a prospective Corbring. That the 2MS wanted Errand, and that they were doing experiments on making monsters and stuff. So, yeah, like Benitez said, we're on the same side. I'm sorry we attacked you. We didn't know. You couldn't have known, Ramon replied, a mournful expression apparent on his otherwise half-monster face. I look like this. No, what I? He shook his head. Never mind. Anyway, these 2MS. Mark? The Adumbry did mention that name, he said, deep in thought, his violet-colored pupils staring intently at the floor. It's the name of their boss. 2 bosses actually. Mark and Mark, the other one spelled with a C. Hence, 2MS. A morsel of truth mixed with a large helping of lies would make the entire story look palatable and easy to swallow. Wow, that sounded legit. I should make a compilation of my quotable quotes. I finally understand why they're looking for Erend. I didn't know she was going to be a Corbring. You're talking like you know her. She orders pizza a lot. Cheese. Don't expose my unhealthy eating habits to this random crowd of people. You're friends with her? No. No, we just sometimes talk when I deliver her order. I see. She's a really nice person. I'm relieved people like her become Corbrings. I didn't know what she was going through, why she disappeared for a couple of weeks. It was good I saved her before they did anything to her. But she ordered pizza tonight, Ramon said. I didn't sense anything wrong with her. Why would she order pizza if you just saved her from that underground base of the 2MS? Oops. When I made my fake story, I didn't expect to meet the pizza delivery guy. I think she was disoriented and was just going through the motions of what she usually does. She was unconscious when the 2MS kept her in a vat in their laboratory, so she doesn't really know about anything going on. She was so cheerful and kind when I talked to her, he said wistfully. You can talk to her when her power stabilizes and she wakes up. If only I asked her. What did you say? Nothing. Nothing. It doesn't matter now. Just when I'm bored. I found it weird someone liked me even though I wasn't intentionally trying to influence their emotions towards me. But, hey, if this guy liked me, maybe others did too. They were probably just too shy to say anything. Was this spooky Erend's goal in making me use this power and work with other people? Some self-reflection nonsense. Like what lesson was I supposed to learn here? Those bastards, Benitez said. Turning people into monsters. Truly evil, these Adumbri. No offense, Pino. We're working with Ramon, so it's not as if we're. No offense taken, I said. Samantha snorted. Is that some form of, I'm not a bigot because I have a gay friend? I've heard that so many times already. This is different because Ramon is not an Adumbri, said Benitez. Correct. Vince said emphatically. He only had the incredible misfortune of being turned into a monster by these Adumbri terrorists. Not an Adumbri. Isn't that right, Ramon? Ramon hesitantly agreed with a slight nod. Julie, what's the time? I asked. It's 3:21 a.m., she replied. I blinked with my cyclopean eye. I think we can already move Paolo. His clothes were crusted with dried blood. Scars covered his arms and legs, and I assumed the rest of his was body too. You okay there? Yes, I'm good to go, he said with a forced smile. He was probably suffering internal injuries because of my power, but he wouldn't let his sister know that. The important thing was he could walk again. I'll help you there, buddy, Benitez said, offering his shoulder to Paolo. Thanks. He stared intensely at me. Are we still connected? Yes. I still had my healing power linked with him. Why? I knew what he was going to say. When we find a strong monster, use your powers on me again. But your injuries? Before I copied the gorilla monster, I had a few wounds. But they disappeared when I transformed. You mean they weren't carried over to the copied monster? Yes. I can transform and... How about Julie? I had to act like I was caring. She'd understand, he hastily answered. If you say so. Where do we go now? Samantha said. Up or down? There are enemies either way. We're trapped. I say up, Ramon said. We should try again. There's only one Adumbri up there. We failed because he had tons of men with guns. Having Pino on our side, I'm sure we'll win this time. We have a stun pulsar too, Vince said. He did mention he was an engineer or something and knew his way around this kind of things. An illegally modified one at that. This should pack quite a punch and help us fight Adumbri. What about that box? Ramon pointed at the suitcase-sized metal box we nabbed from the 2MS goons. I'm not sure what it is. I'd say some sort of field generator. Of what? I don't know. Best recourse is not to bother with it. What pillar? The holes, have you seen them? Those large holes that goes through several floors. We have, Samantha said. Those were made by the giant monster, Benitez said. The one that knew Ramon. I guess I should explain. Ramon's eyes darted back and forth. One of the security guards who knows me, you know, 'cause of the deliveries he turned into the giant monster and is chasing me. That explained one mystery I didn't care about. No, the giant isn't the one who made those holes. It was an Adumbri. Doms joined in. Pillars as big as that one, she said, pointing at a decorative column with fancy lights, descended from above, punching large holes through the floors. An Adumbri, eh? Benitez said. You're right. Those holes are too circular and uniform. Don't think that giant could do that shit. Greg whistled. An Adumbri that could make Swiss cheese out of a building? Glad we didn't meet him when we went upstairs. So down. Ayani said. We go down. If we went down, how will we break through the vines? We still can't escape. I tilted my head to Ramon. He can. Eh. Already tried, he said, with a reluctant tone. Many times. Sorry. I really can't cut the vines. I'll make you stronger with my powers. I'm just conserving it now. Kinda running dry after all the fighting and healing Paulo. But by the time we reach the ground floor, I'll be ready. I'm 100% sure if we combined our powers, we could escape this prison. I could pump Ramon to absolutely monstrous levels of strength because his body could handle the negative effects of my power. But I made up the excuse of conserving power because I didn't want to make Ramon stronger until I was sure he was on my side. He might frickin' kidnap my human body and run away with it, who knew what went inside the head of guys. Everyone was suddenly in high spirits. We finally had a clear escape route. About time too because I was running out of time. Less than 40 minutes left. We headed to the main flight of stairs at the center part of the building. Ramon easily handled the few monsters we encountered. I was becoming more and more confident it would be a breeze going down, so long as we avoid the huge pillar at Dumbry and the giant monster. The stairs. Samantha said. Hold on, Benitez said. Stop. Everyone, stop. What? Why? There's a person coming down the stairs, Ramon said. A woman. Human. Her leather skirt and jacket were torn in several places, her bare feet streaked with wounds. She obviously wasn't having the best of days. Even her makeup was ruined with her tears. Orange eyeshadow and thick cat eye eyeliner. I've seen her before. How many people used orange eyeshadow? Samantha gasped. Cassandra. Are you okay? Ramon said. He was about to go close to her, but Benitez held his arm. Look, there's someone behind her. A thin man with a pasty complexion presented himself. He had an unnerving smile stretched across his face that never quite reached his cold slit-like eyes. Hello there, friends of Cassandra. My name is Finley. Congratulations. You just saved her life. Armed men in full combat gear, armor and all that, marched out of the stairwell. They formed two lines, one kneeling and one standing, and aimed their weapons at us. Finley stroked Cassandra's disheveled hair. I did promise I won't kill her if she showed us the way to her friends. I can't say the same about you though. Crisis mode on. I was in front because I took charge of the group while making the most of my invulnerability to protect the others. And for the safety of my own human body too, obviously. I didn't dare look behind me to check where my body was positioned. Finley, the creepy smiling guy, had his eyes on me. All I knew was Vince was pushing the cart. Which means, the kids were near the cart, and hopefully Dom's too. Dom's, are you? I'm beside it. Can you increase my armor? No. We don't have a corpse for you to use. You'll just get weaker. Just do it. There's no use if you can't move. Calm down. I'm thinking. Now. That's not a very nice way to talk to your friend, Finley said. We're not friends with that sellout. Ah, he said dramatically, his hand going to his chest with a flourish. Your friends don't want you. Isn't that heartbreaking? Cassandra looked down at her feet, grumbling about something. Finley grabbed her chin and made her face us. They are your friends, right? No, she answered nervously. It hurts, please. He glowered at her. I told you to me bring to your friends or else I'll kill you. Did you bring me to the wrong people? Yes. Yes. They're my friends. Speaking of Rofirio, this guy must also be one of the mini-bosses of the 2MS, commanding a bunch of grunts. Was he in Adumbry too? Should be. It would be stupid to attack us with just guns even if you got lots of them. At the least an augmented human, although I couldn't see any heavy augs work done on his body. You did good, Finley said, patting Cassandra's head. It's nice to be friends with lots of people. I'd also like to be friends with them. Is that okay? How about you introduce me to them? I don't know. Let's start with that metal man woman. I'm a lady, I said, deciding to engage him to buy time to find an opening. My name's Pino. Nice to meet you, Finley. Polite and amiable. He clapped his hands. You want to be my friend, Pino? How should I respond to this? Was this asshole also buying time? He wasn't the pillar guy for sure, or he would have just squished us and taken my human body. Given how Pillar Guy operated, busting through several floors with no care in the world, he didn't seem to be the type to show his face and play around. I was sure Finley was a different person. He must have weak powers, most likely dragging this out while waiting for reinforcements. Maybe we should attack now and say sorry to those who die afterwards. I remember you, Ramon said. Pardon? You're the Adumbry we met. Is that him? Asked Vince. The one who killed the McKennans. You monster. Monster? That's such a strong word. I'm hurt. What the hell did you do to them? Finley shrugged. I honestly have no idea what you're talking about. He turned to Cassandra. You know what they're talking about? She awkwardly moved her head, something between a nod and a shake. I knocked your helmet off. Ramon said. You were wearing full armor like these guys, but I knocked it off. I remember your face. Ah. I get it now. Finley placed his fist on his palm while snickering. You must be talking about my twin brother, Calder. He's the one assigned to guard the way to the rooftop. Twin brother? Yes, my twin. But you look. Finley rolled his eyes. Identical twins. That's how it works. And we're wearing different clothes. You won't find me in crass combat gear. I don't have the barbaric fashion sense of my brother, thank goodness. You didn't kill. We haven't met before. I've seen you guys only through the screens of the security room. Although, I saw my brother did a number to your group. You're right, Benitez answered gruffly, his grip tightened on his shotgun, his finger hovered by its trigger. He stared down the barrel. He killed many of us. I was polite enough not to shoot. Now, you're going to shoot me? Dom said, let's all calm down. Scratch that then. I needed some other reasonable justification. The longer this Finley asshole dicked around, the more I became certain he was buying time, and the more my instincts told me to attack. Dom's only had a thin layer of armor, and Paolo wasn't transformed. But I had Ramon on my side. Finley shouldn't be as powerful as the pillar dude. He was probably, at the most, a couple of levels stronger than Rofirio. Come on, just order your men to shoot us, I prayed in my head. Make this easy for me. What did you say? Finley snapped at Cassandra. Speak up so your friends can hear you. Cassandra flinched when he shouted at her. Will you let me go now? You promised. Yes, I did. I nearly forgot. He snapped his fingers and two of his men grabbed her. Ha! Ow, let me go. I got too distracted making friends, but you're right. I'm sorry for that. We should finish our business first. What are you doing to her? Benitez said. He pushed away Ramon's arm holding him back and pointed his gun at Finley. Don't be stupid and do anything rash. Samantha hissed at him. We could all die here, added Doms from somewhere behind me. I know, okay. I know. But we can't just wait for them to kill us. Go on and shoot, I pleaded in my head. It would have been the perfect opportunity for me if he did. Finley took something out the breast pocket of his pinstripe dress shirt. A parting gift for a friend. It was a small vial with a wiggling thing inside. Is that? Ramon exclaimed. You're going to turn her into a monster. Is that what you're going to do? Cassandra said, trying to pull away. No. Please. Stop that. Why? I'm only doing what I promised to you. That's bullshit. Benitez said. This isn't what you promised. I promised to let you go. But if I let you leave as you are, you'll just get eaten by monsters somewhere out there. I have to do this so they won't eat you. Just let me be. Please. Ramon, Benitez said, we'll just let this shit happen. Some kind of robots? I tried shooting the two at the left end of their formation and my blue thread wouldn't even come out of my finger. The two MS legit had the money to buy and deploy these? I mean, I knew they were rich, but these seemed to be a waste, better just get some humans and tweak them. Well, what are we going to do? Ramon said. Nothing, said Finley. You'll be doing nothing. Why you? Ben, don't do it. Vince grabbed his arms and pushed the gun down. Just calm down. Samantha said. Do you want us all to die? Yes, Ben, my buddy, Finley said, stressing the name with a mischievous grin. Ben, don't do it. I know your name now, Ben. We're friends now. Friends my ass. I couldn't shoot any of them. Were they all really robots? I couldn't recall any robot guarding the underground arena. If the two MS had military-grade combat robots, they would have posted them there. Sure, they had ComExos, but those had human pilots. If not robots, then this must be Finley's power. How strong were these things? Don't shoot me, Ben. I'm your friend. Finley waved his arm and gestured to his men. Our other friends will shoot you back. Pino. Can you hear me? Paolo said. We're all friends here, Ben. I need power to fight. Ah, there's no body. I'll run back the hallway and find one. Pino, we should do something. This time it was Dom's. Wait, the two of them kept on talking inside my head. I ignored them, concentrating my eye on the fake humans. Nothing else. Something more than knowing they were puppets, creations of Finley. Cassandra began screaming her head off, trying to escape with all her might. The two men beside her held her up. She kicked wildly, even hitting Finley, who was just laughing. Her shadow beneath her reflecting her desperate struggle to escape. Shadows. Greg, shut up. Please don't do it, Aya. Pino. Are you listening? Finley tipped the vial into Cassandra's screaming mouth and held it shut. Doms, wait a bit. I'm thinking of a plan. There we go, he said. Release her. The guards let go and she fell to the floor. That wasn't too bad, was it? Cassandra harshly coughed like she was going to spit out her lungs. She tried to claw inside her mouth and ended up vomiting. Everyone was silent, watching what was going to happen next. "You're now safe, I think," Finley said. "You're good to go. Back to your friends, or you can." Before he finished what he was saying, Cassandra fled down the stairs. "Oh, so she didn't want to go with you guys." Finley sighed with a contented smile even wider than before. "I'll try to collect her later if she turns into an interesting specimen." "Don't react," I said to Ramon, Doms, and Paolo. "Don't let him notice I'm talking to you inside your head. Most of his men are illusions." "Illusions?" Ramon said. "How did you know?" asked Doms. "He's just bluffing us. Let's fight." All three of them were talking in my head. "Shut up all of you. Listen to me. They have no shadows." Which was also why they didn't have any color coding them. They weren't all real. But some were. "Now, let's continue on," Finley said. "What do you want with us?" Greg said. "We don't have anything. Are you going to kill us?" "Turn us to monsters, more like," Benitez murmured. "The two that grabbed Cassandra are real. The three kneeling in front of Finley, the ones forming a triangle, those are real too. They bombarded me with questions, like could the illusions shoot, and how do we make them disappear? The hell should I know? Those five are not human. I don't know what they are. Right, Pino?" Finley said, raising his voice. "Yes. Or no, what was the question?" I continued planning. "We just focus on those five and Finley. I was asking about Erend. Is that her wrapped with the blanket? We know what you want with her." Benitez said. "You do?" Finley said with genuine surprise in his voice. "It is Erend." I said, drowning out Benitez. "Let's not reveal my lie." "Yes, Erend is here." "She's here." "Yes." I was continuing to make discuss with the other three inside my head. It was hard because they had differing definitions of acceptable casualties and I was talking to them separately. "A bit distracted there, aren't you, friend?" "No." "So you want Eri?" "I saw you doing something with your fingers earlier," he said with a smirk. "And you seemed awfully quiet too." "It's rude to interrupt," I said. "Guys. Shut up. We can't save everyone. But we should act now. Don't you dare point your finger at me, Pino. I don't like that." "What are you talking about?" "And you're right." "Huh? About what?" "I'm not sure, but there's something weird with your eye. You probably have already seen through me and figured out my secret." "Shit. We should attack." "I pee in the shower." "What?" "And most of these are illusions." "Run." "Fire." "The children." Benitez screamed before he got riddled with bullets. Screams and gunfire. Ayani's head exploded, splattering me with blood. Greg tried to protect her, not noticing his girlfriend died instantly. Ramon charged at Finley. I turned around, hugged everyone I could and pushed them to the hallway. "Shield my human body, all of you. I'll kill you." Ramon cried out. Finley was laughing behind us. Everyone tumbling over everyone else as all tried to get out. I saw Doms was the first to run out the hallway while carrying Lizzie. Even though I shielded some of them with my metal body, most were still hit. No one was pushing the cart. The white blanket turned red. I didn't know who was still alive. I picked up the cart and followed Doms, pushing it over somebody on the ground. "Run. Just run," I said. "Lizzie." Doms cried from further ahead. Her body slammed against the wall. A man blocked our path. He was holding Lizzie. He had the same face as Finley. The same annoying smile. "Hi, I'm Calder. What's the rush, guys? This guy just won't die." Myra yelled, struggling to climb out the hole made by that giant of man who kept on saying "Bob." The meager armor she managed to hastily grow was chipped and cracked all over. As she clambered to the next floor, she spotted Johann curled up at the corner, having crashed into a large potted fern. "Stand up. He's coming." "Ugh, why did you throw me up so hard?" he groaned. He slowly picked himself up, blood from his wounds dripped on the leaves of the fern and broken pieces of the pot, patches of soil stuck to his clothes. "Because you're slow." The bark armor around Myra's left leg crumpled, its jagged edges digging into her skin and flesh. "Ah! What the hell?" She looked down. Their undying pursuer was here. His massive fist had a death grip on her lower leg. Despite the 3-foot-long spikes piercing his eyeballs, he inexplicably still found them. "Bob!" His booming calls of what was probably his own name struck fear in Myra's heart unlike any enemy she faced before. "Bob, Bob! How are you still alive? Bob! Bob!" She tried to kick him off as hard as she could, kicks that could destroy the skull of a normal human, but Bob held firm. He jumped off the lower floor and hung on to her leg. "Gag!" she exclaimed from the surprising weight threatening to pull her joints apart. "Bob! Don't drag me down." She hung on for dear life as Bob swung freely from her leg. Her fingers buried into the floor, piercing through the tiles, cracking the concrete. Spikes shot out of her arms, anchoring her. "You're so heavy, you bastard. Myra! Run away." "No." Johann tried to grab her hand but got pricked by the spikes that uncontrollably spurted out and receded into her skin, showing how panicked she was becoming. "Just leave me. I can't shake him off. I won't." He stood over her and fired his gun down at Bob. "Just run," she gasped. Weak. So weak. For the first time, she felt she could barely manage to produce any bark. Her strength was also fading, her grip weakening. She wished he would just rip her leg off. "Take my leg and just go away. Please." Johann threw his empty gun at Bob. Then he grabbed Myra's hands again, ignoring the tiny spikes wounding him, not that he was of any help. "We're getting out of here alive," he said. "Don't give up." He was right, I have many things left to do. She still had to find Kelsey, or avenge her if she was already dead. She couldn't just give up here. She refused to die to an Adumbri who could only say his name. Concentrating the last of her power into the sole of her free foot, she looked down and timed her only chance to free herself. "Bob! Bob! Bo-erk!" A massive spike burst forth from the bottom of her foot, skewering Bob through the mouth like a pig on a spit roast. She felt it didn't go that deep into his body. Barely down his throat. Bob was unfazed, he even tried to chew the spike. Myra wasn't surprised either. After fighting him for so long, she was sure he wouldn't die this easily. Even the spikes that should have gone into his brain through his eye sockets didn't do much. But this desperate move wasn't meant to kill him. Myra used the spike as leverage to twist her other leg free. "Let me go," she screamed as she tore her leg from his grip. Garg! Pain to top all the pain she ever felt in her life. She nearly passed out. But her will to live pushed back. She shot out the spike from her foot, disconnecting it and letting Bob fall down the hole to the lower floors. "Yes!" Johann enthusiastically yelled. "Tired, I'm so tired. Up. Get up here." She stumbled into his arms. He flinched when some of her spikes poked him, but he didn't say anything, continuing to hug her. "Run," she forced herself to say through her teeth clenched in pain. "Have to run." Johann pulled her up, but she stumbled when they started walking. "Your leg, Mother Core's grace, Look at. Shut up. I'm not going to look. But. Okay, let's go. Johann supported her, and both of them limped away. They walked in silence, only their belabored breathing could be heard. After a few minutes, he said, I can't go very far. He gave her a weak smile. His skin was very pale. Me too. We need to find a place to rest. But not now. A bit further on. The pillar. I got it away from him but he'll find it soon enough. We need to move a bit further away. Johann swallowed then inhaled deeply. He wiped the tiredness from his face and put on a resolute expression. They continued walking until the building slightly shook. A fire alarm was ringing. What was that? Was that him? He found his toy. It sounds far away. Yes, Myra said. She forced herself to talk and ignore the pain. There were quakes, but she couldn't hear the sounds of the building getting destroyed, like concrete crumbling. The fire alarm was turned off. He's attacking a different place. I bet he doesn't know where to point his pillar because you blinded him. But he did find it somehow, so he can probably sense it. Through that room. She pointed at an ajar door. Time a bit of rest. Johann turned on the lights as they entered. A small cleaning supply room. The boxes were scattered, thrown off the shelves, spilling their contents. Dried blood streaked the floor. Bad luck to whoever was hiding here and got found, Johann said. I hope that doesn't happen to us, Myra said. He was about to turn off the lights when she told him to stop. She held her breath and slowly lifted up her leg, the one she forcefully yanked out of Bob's grasp. She gasped upon seeing it. Myra. So, that's why I couldn't feel it, she jokingly said. She was about to cry. All this time fighting the two MS, even after the fiasco that was their first mission, and this was the only time she felt like crying. Huge chunks of flesh were missing from her lower leg, revealing her bones. She collapsed on the floor. Myra. I'm okay. Just sit there, he shifted her to a clean spot. Okay. Johann took off his tattered jacket and covered her injury with it. After closing the door and turning off the lights, he sat beside her. So. I guess it looked worse earlier, she said in a forced upbeat tone. She didn't want Johann to think she was weak. She was supposed to be the strongest one in their group. Always on the front line of every fight, not backing down against anything. But she was rattled this time. Especially when that Adumbri tore off her armor with his bare hands, her armor that could withstand grenades got torn to shreds like it was cardboard. Yes, Johann said. You'll be fine. You're already regenerating. Compared to me. She heard rustling. What's that? Supposed to be painkillers. We confiscated this from an illegal bioaugs syndicate. I got this from the evidence room. You want some? Is that safe? Probably not. Don't take it then. My body aches all over. And it felt like I was slapped by a giant cactus when I hugged you. Now, it's my fault. No, I didn't mean. No one told you to hug me. Sorry. She felt her body to make sure there wasn't any piece of armor left. Then she leaned over to him and hugged him from behind. She felt him tense up. She hoped he didn't mind being hugged by someone who wasn't human anymore. Don't move, don't talk. Or I'll hug you tighter until you're dead. He relaxed and started to chuckle. Myra frowned. What's so funny? You think I can't do it? I'm not moving. You talked. She nestled her head next to his. 5 minutes of rest, then we'll go out and find errand. Johann nodded his head. She felt the stubbles of his freshly shaved face brushed against her cheeks. I hope we do find the woman with the red hood. We'll need every help we can get if we're fighting a Dumbri like that one. He nodded again. I hope Kelsey's still alive. He didn't nod. We're near the security room, Johann said. Through this hallway, then the first left. Let me go first, Myra said, walking as briskly as she could with the crude crutches they made from a broomstick. Although her leg was regenerating rapidly, she didn't want to put weight on it just yet. Why are there a lot of dead monsters here? I don't know. Maybe Red Hood passed through here. Or someone else. Myra, wait. Check out this body. The corpse he pointed to was human with a similar attire as the other men of the 2MS. Why is he dead? Don't they have some way to control the monsters? They had a pretty smooth operation at the parking level. Maybe they did fight Red Hood. Johann looted the dead guy of his gun and ammo before moving on. Here's another human. He pushed aside monster carcasses, uncovering a man dressed in a bright pinstriped shirt. A civilian? No, there's something wrong with him. What do you mean? Myra took a look at the other body and pulled Johann back. What's wrong? That's Calder. Calder? The Adumbri with the illusion power? He's dead. Yeah, huh? Why is there a hole in his chest? It wasn't a hole like a gunshot wound, or even a wound from an explosion. It was just a hole. The body was hollow. Myra stepped on the supposedly dead body of Calder. It cracked and shattered as if it was a piece of pottery sculpted into a human body. The hell? An illusion? No. This feels real. Let me check. How? She punched herself. Myra. Don't go being all caring for me now, she said. She tasted blood in her mouth. A few of her teeth were dislodged, but they would heal, so she didn't care. The pieces of the fake body of Calder were still there. I'm not sure what's going on here. Hopefully, we'll see something in the security room. They passed more monsters' corpses and a couple more of those fake dead bodies that looked like Calder. And they came upon the entrance to the security room, its doors blasted off by an explosion. A man was inside. He was wearing the same pinstripe dress shirt as the fake bodies outside. He stood in front of the screens. Calder! Myra exclaimed. She covered her body in whatever armor she could muster. Johann aimed his gun over her shoulder. The man turned to look at them, revealing that the right half of his face was missing. Oh, another fake, she said. Is this another one of your powers? Hello there. Did you say, Calder? That's your name, right? Where the hell is your real body? A lot of people are mistaking me for my brother today. It's starting to get weird. You're Calder's brother? A twin? Yes, my twin. Glad you easily caught on. The name's Finley, at your service. He attempted to bow as a greeting. More pieces of his face and chest broke off and turned to dust as they hit the floor. Oops, he said, hard to keep myself together. Myra, what do we do here? Some bullshit about having a twin. And we have no need for a fake. What are you guys mumbling over there? Come inside here and make yourselves comfortable. Hey, Finley or whatever the hell your name is. Myra extended her hand and shot forth spikes, skewering him. Thanks for turning off the fire alarms. His body shattered into pieces. Johann squeezed past her and entered the room, his gun at the ready. Here's a dead man, a security guard from his uniform. Wow, did he wrap that guy's head and suffocate him? And another dead body here, he said, nodding to a chair at the back of the room. This one was just a head and torso, the head also completely wrapped in hardened plaster like the other corpse, suffocating whoever this was. However, this guy's limbs were ripped off. Bio-augmentronic limbs by the looks of it. I really have no idea what's going on here. This guy, Calder or Finley, he killed them both, said Johann. That plaster material. I think it's the same as those fake bodies. Yeah, I guess. But who is this? Myra removed the plaster covering the corpse's head like she was peeling a hard-boiled egg. Holy, it's Decano. That's him. I've only seen his pictures on the police database. What's going on? Why did he call her? Why would he kill Decano? They're on the same side. I'm not sure, Johann said. They searched the room for more clues, but couldn't find anything besides a metallic boxy contraption that was partially destroyed. Myra went over the screens. Johann, I think you should take a look at this. What? He was busy tinkering with the metal box. She pointed at one of the few screens that still worked. There's a group of survivors. I'm surprised those people managed to stay alive. Are those Adumbri with them? Adumbri helping them escape? Or are those the two MS men that captured them? Oh, they're off screen, Myra said. Is there no other way to follow them? Johann worked his magic on the control panel and managed to transfer some of the footage on that floor to other working screens. And there we go, he said, pressing a button. The survivors were facing off a small group of heavily armed men. Oh, that doesn't look good. So, they weren't on the same side after all. We don't even know what sides are here, Myra said. Both of them watched, curious as to what was going to happen next. The armed men opened fire. Oh my God. We should help them. What do you mean help them? They're so far away. What floor? You're seriously going there? Beep. They looked at each other. Johann shook his head. He had no idea what it was. They both had their phones on silent. They already learned that precious lesson during past missions. Beep. Did it? Deet. Myra turned around, spikes bursting out of her skin, turning her into a human porcupine. Johann scrambled for his gun and aimed, looking for the source of the sound. They slowly fanned out, keeping their eyes peeled. Beep. Beep. Deet. Is Decano's body making that sound? She said. Seems like it. Do we poke it? Or was this a bomb? Should she grab Johann and run out? He apparently had the same idea because he was already backing to the door. Decano opened his eyes and gasped for air. Huh, he's still alive. Myra said. Phew, I thought he had a self-destruct sequence, Johann said. Quite advanced systems to put him into hibernation and provide him with backup oxygen until it detected he was safe. We should kill him. What? No. Don't preach to me about morality here. If we leave him. Johann gave her a look of incredulity. What are you talking about? I meant to hostage him. We should be able to make use of him in our escape. How can you think of escaping when we haven't even found Erend? We can't just lug Decano's body around while we search the building. I think it's about time to plan our escape route now. Johann pointed at the screen. The armed men had withdrawn, leaving many of the residents dead or injured. Standing in the midst of the survivors was a woman with a familiar outline. She turned her head. Even if the footage was a bit blurry, Myra still easily recognized her. Erend.